Chapter 28-26. Who are you? This is Zhang Naipeo's turf, and we're gunslingers men. It's fine to rest here, but you have to hand over the elixir. Of course, if you don't have the elixir, then scram. What Linny didn't expect was that just as he was hesitating, a voice came from the safe zone. But that was to be expected. After all, other than the safe zone, the other places were all empty plains. There was nowhere for Linny to hide. And the people in the safe zone only needed to look outside to see where Linny was. Zhang Naipeo? Linny paused, not expecting Naipeo to take over this place. But since the people in the safe zone had found him, there was no need for him to hide anymore. Linny started walking towards the safe zone. Boss, you're here. Chikuan, on the other hand, was very excited. He jumped up from the ground and jumped out of the entrance. Behind him was Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian. Bro Lin, you're here. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian, on the other hand, were only acknowledging Lin Yi as their captain. They hadn't thought about making him their boss yet. Gu Xian, on the other hand, was still a step away, but Feng Shipian and Li Siba were the pride of their sex and houses. The two of them were quite amicable, but acknowledging a boss was a very important thing. They had to think it through, especially when it came to a freelancer like Lin Yi. Chikuan, Shbai, and Siba, Gu Xian, you're all here. Lin Yi relaxed upon seeing them. It seemed like Naipeo didn't do anything to them. Lin Yi was worried that they'd be fighting Naipeo alone, but Lin Yi didn't see young Chi-Chi behind them. He frowned. Where's Chi-Chi? It's a long story, but Chi-Chi said she came here to look for treasure. Chikuan said as he told Lin Yi about how Chi-Chi was chased away by Naipeo, and how she went on a treasure hunt on her own. Lin Yi's breathing tightened when he heard that Chi-Chi went to Five Fiends Mountains. Five Fiends Mountains was a dangerous place, and Lin Yi knew very well how dangerous it was. Chi-Chi going there alone made him worried for her. How many days has it been? 2 days, Chikuan said. 2 days. Lin Yi sighed. Chi-Chi should have reached Five Fiends Mountains by now. Chi-Chi practiced Qinggong, and her speed was very fast. Lin Yi had been gone for a day and a night, so Chi-Chi must have been there long ago. Plus, Lin Yi had been walking in a straight line, and Chi-Chi should have been walking in a straight line according to the map as well. The two should have met, and if they didn't, it meant that Chi-Chi used less than a day and a night to get to Five Fiends Mountains, so Lin Yi didn't see her. After all, the path Lin Yi took down wasn't the same as before. He'd been thrown out by the Five Fiends dragon for some distance, and this was where he'd brushed past Chi-Chi. Yeah, Chikuan nodded. That Five Fiends Mountains is marked as extremely dangerous on the map. I wonder how she's doing now. But we really couldn't fight Naipeo back then, sorry boss. It's fine. You guys weren't Naipeo's match anymore. It's normal that you didn't do anything. Lin Yi waved his hand, furious at Naipeo's actions. This was a shared area, and he'd taken it over and started robbing them. What was he thinking? You guys gave all your elixirs to Naipeo? We had no choice. Shipian smiled bitterly and told Lin Yi everything that happened after Lin Yi left. They were talking about how Naipeo threw a punch at Dongfang Butang, making him run out of the safe area like a madman, only to be killed by the spirit beast. Naipeo's voice came from behind them. All right, Lin Yi, you've caught up with your follower. Are you going into the safe area or not? I thought you wanted to be a coward and not show your face. Naipeo walked out of the safe area and said mockingly to Lin Yi, Zhang Naipeo, I heard that your technique is similar to Heaven and Earth Grand Shift, but it's not the same. If I'm not wrong, your technique can't reflect the opponent's attacks back at you like Heaven and Earth Grand Shift. Part of it is reflected, and the other part is taken by you, right? Lin Yi had heard Shipian talk about young Master Yang before, and combined it with what he saw in the restaurant. Lin Yi had a general idea of the characteristics of Naipeo's technique. Haha, that's right, but Lin Yi, so what if you've guessed it? Naipeo paused after seeing that Lin Yi had guessed the characteristics of his technique, but he didn't care at all. He started laughing loudly. Why don't you keep guessing? I can keep guessing, but the only thing I'm not sure about is that when young Master Yang and the Yellow Earth Tyrant hit you, a part of their strength must have been transferred to you, and the part that was reflected back was the other part. But now, it seems like that's not the case. because the other part of the strength wasn't enough to kill them. Lin Yi analyzed. Lin Yi, I have to admit that you're smarter than those reckless practitioners, but what's the use? Come bite me. Naipeo looked at him provocatively. I'm not afraid to tell you that this technique of mine is called thorn arts. When you hit me, 20% of the damage will be absorbed by my body, and 80% will be reflected back by my practitioner's arts. But, under the buff of my practitioner's arts, it's not 80%, but 3 times that. That's 240%. That's a total of 240%. That's why these idiots killed themselves after hitting me. Chapter 28-27. At this moment in the trial ground, there were very few recover pills. It was impossible for these trial takers to have this kind of elixir with them, unless they were the direct disciples of alchemy sects, like the Heavenly Elixir sect. It was impossible for other sects to have it. Naipeo had revealed his trump card to Lin Yi, telling him that there was nothing he could do to him. He could only watch as Naipeo bullied him and his follower, and let him die of frustration. Of course, killing Lin Yi was something Naipeo didn't think about. He wanted to keep Lin Yi as a source of motivation for his training, and he wanted Pinliang to be able to kill Lin Yi himself one day. Naipeo only wanted to vent his frustrations in this test, and that was why he wanted to turn Lin Yi's lackeys against him. I see. Lin Yi understood. I've guessed that you might have imbued some of your own qi into the rebound, but I didn't expect it to be this powerful. Lin Yi, just give up. I'm not afraid to tell you that with your current strength, this 20% damage won't do much to me. Plus, I have a small recovery pill with me. You'll die before I die, Naipeo said. But if you hand over the pill, I'll consider letting you go. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Oh, is that so? Lin Yi smiled all of a sudden as he looked at Naipeo, his confidence returning. Thanks for telling me so much, answering my questions. Now I'm going to attack. Are you ready? You know. And you're still going to hit me? Naipeo paused as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He couldn't understand why Lin Yi would attack him when he knew that he'd be rebounded. Why would he still attack him? How would I know if I don't try? Lin Yi said. You don't believe me? Naipeo was a little puzzled. Lin Yi didn't seem like the type of arrogant person who didn't understand what was going on. There'd been so many precedents, so why was Lin Yi still so nonchalant? It's not that I don't believe it, but sometimes a miracle might happen. Lin Yi smiled and said, I'm going to make my move. Are you sure you want to stand here and let me hit you? Since you don't believe me, I can only let you try. However, let me give you a friendly reminder. You'd better not use your strongest move. Otherwise, you will die very quickly, Naipeo said. It's fine if you die, but Liang Bro will be disappointed. He's planning on killing you himself. Zhongping Liang. Lin Yi chuckled. He has no chance. Do whatever you want. Naipeo stood there, not moving an inch as he looked at Lin Yi, waiting for him to make his move. Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm, 7th style. Lin Yi started channeling the Fiery Fists incantation, before striking out with the palm towards Naipeo's chest. Naipeo didn't dodge at all. He just used his chest to block Lin Yi's palm, standing there, waiting for Lin Yi to fly away. Bang! Lin Yi's Fiery 8 trigrams palm landed on Naipeo's chest. Boom! At the same time that Lin Yi's palm landed on Naipeo's chest, Lin Yi felt a huge force bounce back from his palm, but that force disappeared without a trace the moment it touched Lin Yi's body, as if it had never been there in the first place. It was working. Lin Yi sighed in relief. It seemed like his prediction was correct. Just as Naipeo said, the force he bounced back was 240% of his strength, without any of Naipeo's qi in it. This qi belonged to the Earth class. This meant that he was wearing the mid-level cicada underwear, and the force was completely nullified by it. It seemed like Shu's words had come true once again. Prophet Shu really had foresight. Before he left, he put this mid-tier golden cicada underwear on him. He didn't expect it to have such a decisive effect. Knowing that the reflected force had no effect on him, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. A cold smile appeared on his face as he activated the Fiery 8 trigrams palm 7th form. Fiery 8 trigrams palm 7th form 7th form. Lin Yi used the fiery 8 trigrams palm's 7th form twice, a total of 3 times. Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm was barely enough to take out a Sky Class early phase. Lin Yi had used this move to take out the red conch early phase Sky Class Master Zhuge. So Lin Yi didn't use the 8th form at all. The 8th form could only be used once, and Lin Yi would be exhausted after that. The 7th form, on the other hand, could be used 3 times in a row. This way, the attack on Naipeo would be 60% of the normal fiery 8 trigrams palm's 7th form. Naipeo would definitely be heavily injured. As expected, Naipeo's eyes flashed with disbelief as he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, holding his chest with both hands, unable to speak. He didn't think that Lin Yi would use 3 techniques in a row, and from the looks of it, Lin Yi didn't seem to be affected at all. He himself was the one who was heavily injured. It wasn't fatal, but it was quite serious. This was Lin Yi's limit. Lin Yi sighed with regret, but he couldn't use any more techniques, not even the 6th form. Feng Shipi and Li Siba, you two worked together to kill Naipeo. A killing intent flashed in Lin Yi's eyes. Naipeo was simply too strong, so strong that Lin Yi was wary of him. Back in the Ice Palace, the rules didn't allow him to kill, so he spared Naipeo's life. But in the Sky Elixir sex test, there were no rules like that. And so, Lin Yi decided to get rid of Naipeo, in case he went back and learned some weird arts. Lin Yi wouldn't be able to deal with him then. Feng Shipian and Li Siba paused. They were just about to cheer for Lin Yi, since Lin Yi didn't look like he was injured at all. Yet he'd already beaten Naipeo up. As far as they were concerned, Lin Yi's next step was to kill Naipeo. Chapter 28. Brother Lin. Feng Shipian looked at Lin Yi confused. Lin Yi was just about to explain that he was exhausted and couldn't use any more skills. But when he looked up, he saw Imo Ba rushing over from the entrance. Lin Yi swallowed his words. Imo Ba's strength was not to be underestimated either. He was stronger than either Feng Shipian or Li Siba, and even if the two teamed up, they wouldn't have much of a chance of winning. Lin Yi was also afraid that Imo Ba would attack him, so Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Gunslinger, what's wrong? Imo Ba didn't have the time to think about Lin Yi's situation. All of his attention was on Naipeo, and seeing how heavily injured he was, he panicked. In actuality, it looked like Lin Yi had used his skills 3 times during the fight between Lin Yi and Naipeo. But it was all done in the blink of an eye. Naipeo was on the ground in the blink of an eye, and Imo Ba didn't even have time to react before the fight was over. Small recovery pill. Naipeo said to Imo Ba. Yes, Gunslinger. Imo Ba quickly took out a pill and put it into Naipeo's mouth. Naipeo, on the other hand, closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground, starting to digest the medicine. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a sense of shame. With Imo Ba out, Feng Shipian and Li Siba wouldn't be able to kill Naipeo anymore, unless they put their lives on the line and let Guxian and Qikuan attack Naipeo. But if they did that, they might have to sacrifice Feng Shipian or Li Siba. For a disciple like the Everyday sect, they would put their lives on the line. Once Imo Ba put his life on the line, his explosive power would be very strong. Plus, Lin Yi didn't have the chance to tell Zhao Qikuan and the others what he was thinking. He didn't have the energy to play the sound trick anymore, and it wouldn't be able to fool a Sky-class mid-phase like Imo Ba. While Naipeo was healing himself, Lin Yi wasn't idling around, either, using the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to recover the chi he'd used earlier. At that moment, Feng Shipian and Li Siba saw that Lin Yi wasn't moving at all, his face a little pale as well. It was only then that they realized that Lin Yi had probably used up all his chi after using 3 techniques. That was why they had to go kill Naipeo. They couldn't help but regret it. The opportunity was fleeting. Now that Devil 8 was here, it was impossible for them to make a move. Right now, Mo Ba was guarding Naipeo vigilantly, and Feng Shipian and Li Siba didn't have any experience in teamwork. It was practically impossible for them to stop Imo Ba before attacking Naipeo. And so, Feng Shipian and Li Siba followed Devil 8's example and stood in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi was recovering his chi, and they were guarding Lin Yi. And so, a strange scene unfolded in front of the safe place. Both groups were guarding, but they didn't make a move. They just stared at each other, not saying a word. Skybolt Pig was hiding far away, watching for any spirit beasts nearby. Fortunately, in the half an hour that Lenny was recovering his chi, and Naipeo was healing himself, everything was fine. Lenny, you're wearing the mid-class golden cicada underwear. Naipeo sighed as he spoke to Lenny. In the half an hour that he was healing himself, Naipeo kept thinking about why Lenny was fine. It shouldn't be possible after all. How could Lenny take 240% of the reflected damage? It wasn't very realistic. But after thinking about it for a long time, Naipeo finally came up with a possibility. Pinliang's mid-class golden cicada underwear had been worn by Lenny. Naipeo didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the thought. Lenny was an earth class, and the chi that was reflected back was naturally earth class. It was strong, but it was still an earth class. The mid-class golden cicada underwear would be able to defend against it no matter what. And this underwear had been gifted to Lin Yi by Pinliang. Naipeo's loss this time was quite unfair. Looks like you're not stupid after all. Lin Yi stopped using the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery after seeing that Naipeo had recovered. His chi wasn't fully recovered yet, but it was more or less recovered. I've forgotten about that, Naipeo said as he looked at Lin Yi. He'd just recovered from his injuries and wasn't fully healed yet. If Lin Yi had recovered and used the same 3 moves again, he'd really be dead. You hate Pinliang a lot, don't you? Lin Yi asked with a smile. Lin Yi, don't get too cocky. I can kill you with a flip of my hand. Naipeo smiled coldly. Is that so? Fire 8 trigrams palm, 8th form. Lin Yi used the Fire 8 trigrams palm, once again, striking towards Naipeo. But this time, Lin Yi used the 8th form, not the 7th form. In actuality, the reason why Lin Yi used the 8th form was because his real target this time was Demon 8. Attacking Naipeo was just an illusion. If Demon 8 wasn't killed, he'd always be a hidden threat. Even if Lin Yi injured Naipeo, with Demon 8 there, he wouldn't be able to let Feng Shipian and Li Siba kill him. It'd be an endless loop between him and Naipeo. He'd hurt him, he'd heal himself, and Lin Yi'd recover his chi and stamina. This cycle wouldn't end until the end of the test. Only by killing Demon 8 and injuring Naipeo would he be able to create a chance for Feng Shipian and the others to kill Naipeo together. As for the 2 followers of the Dark Palace, they'd long since gone into hiding. They were negligible. They'd seen that Lin Yi could hurt Naipeo and knew that Lin Yi wasn't someone to be messed with. So they decided to hide. Lin Yi didn't mind people like this at all. As long as he got rid of Naipeo and Demon 8, they'd follow him obediently. Naipeo's eyes were wide open, his face tense as if he was facing a powerful enemy. In the test before, he'd been able to laugh and talk freely even when facing a Sky-class late-phase peak. But now, he was under a lot of pressure. Chapter 28-29. Although this move wouldn't have any effect on those Sky-class masters who were prepared and had strong willpower, Lin Yi didn't think that these 2 conditions were met. When Zhao Qikuan and Feng Shipian were explaining this move to Lin Yi, they were interrupted by Naipeo. And so Naipeo believed that Lin Yi didn't know much about his Demon of Hell Fist. And even if Lin Yi had a strong will, he was only an Earth class. He wouldn't be able to wake up from the illusion of the Demon of Hell Fist by himself. At that thought, Naipeo didn't use the Thorn Arts, but the Demon of Hell Fist's arts. He punched out as Lin Yi got closer, yelling, Demon of Hell Fist! Boom! At the same time, Lin Yi's Fire Bagua Palm landed on Demon 8, who was standing not far from Naipeo, completely defenseless. You! Puffed! Demon 8 looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He didn't think that Lin Yi, who was supposed to be attacking Naipeo, would suddenly change his target to Demon 8. But when he realized this, it was already too late. He could only watch as Lin Yi's palm landed on his chest, and his sternum caved in. A sharp pain spread from his chest to his entire body, and he moaned in pain as he was sent flying by Lin Yi's strength. He didn't want to die, but there was nothing he could do. He wanted to yell at Lin Yi for being so cunning. But then he remembered that when he first met Lin Yi, in the inn's restaurant, didn't Mo Jiu become a cripple like this? However, by the time Mo Ba realized this, it was already too late. He felt the arrival of death, and he already knew that this time, he would definitely die. But what made him excited was that before he died, he saw Naipeo use his ultimate move on Lin Yi, Demon of Hellfist. Although he was dead, he was happy that Gunslinger had avenged him. Demon 8 landed heavily on the ground, closed his eyes, and passed away peacefully. A stream of chi shot out from Naipeo's fist, heading straight for Lin Yi's head. Lin Yi was shocked, and suddenly remembered what Feng Shuiyan had told him about Naipeo's ultimate move, Demon of Hell Fist. Dongfang Balu was a sky-class late-phase peak, and even he was hit by it. Lin Yi was only an Earth-class late-phase. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to handle this move. But when Lin Yi reacted, it was already too late. Lin Yi was using the Fire Bagua Palm's 8th form to attack Demon 8, and the chi from Naipeo's fist entered Lin Yi at the same time. Suddenly, Lin Yi felt his head go dizzy, and found himself in a strange world. The scenery around Lin Yi changed abruptly, turning into a familiar scene. This was the X-Island where he'd been with his Shifu when he was young. Bro, Daddy's dead. As Lin Yi was spacing out, not knowing why he had suddenly returned to Island X, where he trained when he was a kid, a familiar, crying voice sounded. Lin Yi raised his head to see that it was his teammate, Yang Xiaoxiao, the daughter of his Shifu. What? Shifu's dead? Lin Yi was startled as he looked at Yang Xiaoxiao, surprised. He'd gotten into the role without realizing it, as if he'd gone back to his childhood training on X Island. Yes, Daddy's dead. Little 9 killed Daddy. Yang Xiaoxiao said. What? Little 7, you said Shifu was killed by Little 9? Lin Yi's eyes were wide open as he looked at Yang Xiaoxiao in disbelief. Little 7 was Yang Xiaoxiao's code name in the team. Yes, but I've already killed Little 9 to avenge Daddy. Yang Xiaoxiao said sadly. I really didn't think that Little 9 was this kind of person. What? Little 9 is also dead? Lin Yi suddenly felt that the amount of information in this matter was too much for him to accept. He had a splitting headache. This was because the series of events had already exceeded the scope of what he could bear. Bro, don't believe Sister 7. Shifu was killed by her. I saw it. Sister 7 wanted to kill me. Lin Yi couldn't accept it. Suddenly he heard Little 9's voice. When he turned his head, he saw Little 9 crawling over with blood all over her body. Her head was actually broken. Only a little bit of skin on her neck was connected. As she crawled, it swayed and looked like it was about to fall off. Even though Lin Yi had a strong psychological endurance, he couldn't help but scream. Her head was broken, but she could still speak? Bro, be careful. Little 9 suddenly said. Lin Yi suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. When he turned his head, he saw that Yang Xiaoxiao was holding a dagger in her hand, piercing his lower abdomen. Yang Xiaoxiao's mouth had a cruel and proud smile. Little 7, you. Lin Yi looked at Little 7 in horror. Ha 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 ha. I am not Little 7 actually. I am Yuning. Yang Xiaoxiao's face suddenly changed and turned into Yuning, a face that Lin Yi was more familiar with. Little Ning, you. Lin Yi couldn't believe it. How could Yuning kill her own master, kill Little 9? Why did she pretend to be Little 7? Just when Lin Yi wanted to ask, Lin Yi suddenly found that the scenery around him had changed again. It turned into a primeval forest in Africa. And Yuning, at the moment, was looking at him affectionately. Lin Yi looked at Yuning again, and found that there was no dagger in Yuning's hand, and his lower abdomen was no longer in pain. Lin Yi was puzzled. Yuning suddenly said, Eagle, today is Valentine's Day. Lin Yi responded. He hadn't recovered from the previous shock. I like you, Yuning said. But I know that you can't be with me. So what I can't get, no one else can. I want to die with you, so we can be together forever. Lin Yi was stunned. This was not Yuning's style at all. Lin Yi was wondering if Yuning was insane today. Suddenly, a lion came into the cave, and Yuning was summoning the lion. The lion came over and bit Yuning at the waist. Her upper body went directly into the belly of the lion, leaving only half of her body. She made a strange laugh. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 28:30. Ha 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 ha. Lin Yi raised his head and found that the laughter didn't come from the remaining half of Yuning's body. But, behind the lion, there was another person. It was Go Huli. Lin Yi, you didn't expect this, right? My lion ate your lover. Isn't this feeling great? Go Huli said proudly. Bitch, give me your life. Linny didn't think that all of this was Go Huli's doing. He suddenly punched Go Huli with a frenzy fist. Bang! Go Huli was just an ordinary person. Lin Yi's frenzy fist sent her flying. However, when Go Huli fell to the ground, Lin Yi heard another person's voice. Linny Gage, you're so cruel. Jing Jing almost died for you. And you actually want to kill Jing Jing. The Go Huli on the ground suddenly turned into Han Jingjing. This made Lin Yi's heart tighten. Jingjing, how are you? Lin Yi quickly ran to Han Jingjing's side and was about to use the art of dragon mastery to heal her injuries. However, the Han Jingjing on the ground suddenly changed. It turned into Tian Chan. Lin Yi, you pervert. I'm going to kill you. Tian Chan took out a sharp knife and stabbed Lin Yi's chest. Ah! Lin Yi felt like he was going crazy. Why did the people around him change one by one? Why did they all betray him? However, just when Lin Yi was a little shocked, how did Go Huli turn into Tian Chan? The Tian Chan in his arms actually turned into another girl. A girl that looked familiar, but he didn't know. Lin Yi, you're actually hugging another girl. Don't you want me anymore? If you don't want me, I'll die in front of you. The girl looked at Lin Yi bitterly. The look in her eyes made Lin Yi feel like he had seen it before. But he couldn't be sure. You are? Lin Yi looked at the girl in front of him strangely and asked, Who are you? Lin Yi, don't you recognize me? The girl's eyes flashed with disappointment and grievance. Suddenly, she raised her hand slightly, and a snow mist spread from her hand, completely covering Lin Yi. Before I die, I want you to die. You are from Shuegu. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that the girl in front of him was the girl he fell in love with at first sight in Shuegu. However, he only saw her from afar. They didn't interact. Why did she want to kill him? Lin Yi's mind was a mess, and he couldn't help but scream again. Oh! Chikuan didn't think that Naipeo would use the dark demon fist all of a sudden. And after Lin Yi got hit, his eyes glazed over. He screamed and hugged his head, squatting on the ground. It was very similar to Dongfang Bulia's situation. Boss, what's wrong? Wake up. Chikuan jumped in fright and yelled. Yeah, brother Lin, wake up. Shipian was panicking as well, reaching out to help Lin Yi up. What he didn't expect was that Lin Yi's frenzy fist hit Shipian's chest. Luckily, Lin Yi was fighting Go Huli, a normal human. Lin Yi only used the first stance of the frenzy fist, and it didn't do much damage to Shipian, but it still made him feel a little suffocated. Brother Lin, it's me. Feng Shipian jumped in fright and shouted. Although this was only the power of the first or second mystic class skill, Lin Yi was someone who could instantly kill a sky class mid-phase master. Feng Shipian was only at the early phase of sky class. He was afraid that Lin Yi would accidentally kill him in an instant. But Lin Yi didn't pay any attention to him at all. He raised his hand and pushed Feng Shipian to the side. He stood up and cried out in shock again as he ran for the distance. Boss, come back. Chikuan was panicking. This was what happened to Dongfang below. If it were any other place, Lin Yi would be fine even if he ran like crazy. There was no danger, but this was different. This was 5 Malice Barons, and there were many spirit beasts. One mistake and they could run into one. And so Chikuan was worried that Lin Yi would follow in Dongfang Bulu's footsteps. But Lin Yi didn't seem to hear him at all, running back and forth in the 5 Fiends Barons. He didn't go far, just running in circles. Even so, Chikuan and the others were panicking. There weren't any spirit beasts around now. But that didn't mean that there wouldn't be any later. If one were to suddenly appear, Lin Yi would be in danger. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Gu Xian, and Chikuan were all focused on Lin Yi, while Naipeo, on the other hand, put an energy pill in his mouth to recover his qi. Of course, the energy pill was one of the long-lost elixirs, and it was extremely precious. He wouldn't use it unless he had no other choice, but he didn't have Protector Mo Ba with him right now. He didn't dare be careless, afraid that Feng Shipian and the others would come after him. That was why he took the pill. Zhang Naipeo, what did you do to Boss Lin Yi? Chikuan was panicking. Lin Yi had been very nice to him, bringing him to the test, and giving him the map to the safe place. He was very grateful for all of this. And now that Naipeo had done this to Lin Yi, he was of course worried. It's nothing, He just entered the illusion. If you want to know what happened to him, I can let you try. Naipeo said faintly. In actuality, the chi he had recovered wasn't even enough for him to use the dark demon fist once. But he could use the thorn arts practitioner's arts. Naipeo wasn't worried at all as he tried to scare Chikuan. Chikuan's face froze, but he didn't dare say anything else. His face was filled with rage, but he didn't dare say anything. Illusion. I remember now. Feng Shipian suddenly slapped his head and said, I know what's going on with the dark demon hell fist. Oh, what is it? Li Siba, Gu Xian, and Chikuan asked at the same time. Naipeo looked at Feng Shipian, surprised as well. He didn't expect him to know about the dark demon fist. Chapter 2831. Then, is there a way to solve it? Chikuan waved his hand. Right now, we're not in a rush to find out what's going on with this art. We don't have time to think about it. We just want a solution? No. Shipian shook his head. There's no way to break these ancient arts. We can only defend against them, but we can't break them. Then what do we do? Chikuan asked, shocked. What if a spirit beast comes? Wouldn't boss be in danger? Yes, so I'm going to tell you guys the details of this art. There's strength in numbers, so let's all think about it and see if there's a solution. Shipian said. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Chikuan said, panicking. I was about to say it, but you interrupted me. Feng Shipian smiled bitterly. This is actually a skill that can affect a person's mind. Zhang Naipeo used a special method to push his chi into Brother Lin's head, putting him in a state of madness. His soul. We practitioners call it the Yuan Shun. And once the Yuan Shun is sucked into an illusion, he'll lose himself. In his mind, some of the beautiful memories will reappear. But the memories will change. For example, if the few of us successfully pass the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect, this should be a very good memory for the few of us, right? But in the illusion, the memories will change, and we might be killed, or killed each other, or eaten by spirit beasts. Either way, the memories will change, and it'll feel like we're in the same place. It'll drive us crazy. Ah, that weird. Siba said, shocked. So it really is a demonic sect, to have such an evil move. This is also why this art is called the Hell's Demon Fists. Those who get hit by it will feel like they're in hell, and they won't be able to get out of it. Shipian nodded. Then, can we capture Boss and force him to wake him up? Chikuan asked. No. As far as I know, people who get hit by the Hell's Demon Fists, there's only a very small chance of awakening them, and most of them don't work. The worst-case scenario is that their soul leaves their body and they die. Shipian shook his head. In theory, we can only wait for Brother Lin's soul to wake up and destroy the illusion. Outsiders like us have no way of dealing with the heart's demon, unless we're Sky-class late-phase peak, and we know how to use our soul to communicate with Brother Lin. It's pretty much impossible to wake him up normally. This won't work, that won't work. What do we do? Chikuan was panicking, but there was nothing he could do. Not bad. You're quite knowledgeable. You've actually guessed most of my ultimate technique correctly. Naipeo suddenly clapped his hands, praising. You're right. Even I can't wake him up. Actually, if it was possible, I really didn't want him to die. I want to leave his life for Liang Bro. In actuality, there was one thing Naipeo didn't say. Linny being alive would be a motivation for him to train hard. If Linny was dead, he didn't know if this motivation would still exist. The chrysanthemum arts required hatred in order to train, and the more hatred there was, the faster the training would go. Otherwise, the training wouldn't be as smooth as before. Chikuan glared at Naipeo. He didn't believe him, thinking that he was just being sarcastic. If he didn't want Linny to die, why would he use this move? Just when everyone was at a loss, an Earth-class spirit beast walked over from afar, heading in the direction Linny was going. This shocked everyone, even Naipeo. He thought that Linny was dead for sure. Don't underestimate it just because it was an Earth-class early-phase spirit beast. But it was the most difficult spirit beast to deal with, the giant ape. This type of spirit beast looked like a human, and could practice martial arts as well. It was extremely agile, and even a Sky-class practitioner wouldn't be able to protect himself if he met it, let alone a Earth-class late-phase master. who had lost his mind. "Boss, watch out!" Chikuan yelled at Lin Yi, but it didn't have any effect. Lin Yi didn't seem to hear him at all. He was still running towards the ape. The two were like two cars in a math problem. Chikuan grumbled to himself as he calculated how long it would take for Lin Yi to meet the ape. This might be the last of Lin Yi's life in this world. The scene of Dongfang Butang getting killed by the beast's tail was still fresh in his mind. Generally speaking, if a human cultivator approached a spirit beast, it would be seen as malicious, and the spirit beast would take the initiative to attack. This was especially true in the savage land of Five Evils, which was originally the territory of the spirit beasts. With so many cultivators suddenly entering, the spirit beasts would be very hostile towards these cultivators. The distance between Lin Yi and the ape was getting closer and closer, and the ape seemed to have noticed Lin Yi running towards it. It stopped abruptly and looked at Lin Yi, scratching its head with its forearm in confusion before shaking its head and continuing to walk forward. This weird movement of the ape confused everyone, but no one thought that it would attack Lin Yi. As long as it saw Lin Yi, there was no reason for it to let Lin Yi go. 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, 1 meter. Chikuan was so scared that he closed his eyes. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian were holding their breaths as well, not daring to look at Lin Yi. Naipeo, on the other hand, shook his head. "Lin Yi, you can only blame your bad luck for not being as skillful as others. If you die, then so be it." But now there was one person. No, it was a spirit beast, who wasn't worried about Lin Yi at all. He wasn't worried that the ape would attack Lin Yi, but that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to recover from this crazed state. Just when everyone thought that the ape would attack, Lin Yi and the ape brushed past each other. The ape looked at Lin Yi a few more times, but didn't attack Lin Yi. He continued on his way, not looking at Lin Yi anymore. Chapter 2832. GG. The pig quickly shook his head. "Huff huff," the eight-legged lizard said. "GG." The pig begged. Ho ho. The lizard wasn't the type of spirit beast that liked to kill its own kind, and so it didn't want to attack the pig. GG. The pig shook his head firmly. Ho ho. The lizard raged. It was ready to send the pig flying, and then kill Lin Yi. GG. The pig panicked. Huff huff. The lizard reached out its front claw and slapped the skybolt pig away. Gee. Gee. The pig cried out in pain as he was sent flying. It wasn't a fatal injury, but it wasn't a light one. He landed heavily on the ground and couldn't get up anymore. You overestimate yourself." Naipeo didn't know what the pig and the lizard were talking about, but it was obvious that the pig was trying to stop the lizard from attacking Lin Yi. The reason why Naipeo said that was because he could see that Skybolt Pig was a mystic late-phase peak, and the difference between him and the lizard was like heaven and earth. Because of the difference in level, there was no way Skybolt Pig could stop the lizard. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Gu Xian and Chikuan, on the other hand, were confused and annoyed. Logically speaking, Lin Yi shouldn't have been attacked by a spirit beast, so why was his contracted spirit beast messing around? It seemed like the lizard was pissed off, and it was heavily injured. "Little pig, come back, brother Lin will be fine." These spirit beasts seemed to be very friendly to him. Feng Shipian called out to the pig. The pig rolled his eyes, speechless. Feng Shipian and the others didn't know the truth, and he couldn't explain it to them. Besides, it was impossible for him to get up even if he wanted to. He was heavily injured, and he couldn't get up at all. Seeing the lizard crawl towards Lin Yi, as if it was going to kill Lin Yi, Chikuan and the others were panicking, but there was nothing they could do. They were a team of 2 Sky Class, 1 Earth Class, and 1 Mystic Class, 2 Sky Class, and 1 Mystic Class. This was a strong team in the world of practitioners, but against a spirit beast, there was no way they could fight back. Spirit beasts had a huge advantage over human practitioners due to their natural advantages. This time, from their point of view, Lin Yi was really done for. Lin Yi's soul was in an unrealistic environment, and it was causing Lin Yi's mind to be unsettled, and he was going berserk. Lin Yi's body was going berserk in reality, and Lin Yi's soul was going berserk in the jade as well, But Linny didn't know it. What's wrong? Jiao Lao was a bit worried, but calling out to Linny was useless. 1. Jiao Yazi didn't have much strength, and 2. He was just an illusory body with a sliver of soul inside. He didn't have the power to wake Linny up. Jiao Lao called out again. But Linny was still running around in the jade space, causing the qi in the jade space to shake along with Linny. What's going on? What are you doing? I want to train in peace, and I can't even stop. Isn't it just borrowing your territory? You don't have to go through all this trouble, do you? Do you really think that you can call the shots in your territory? An abrupt voice suddenly sounded in the jade space. What surprised Jiao Yazi was that the owner of the voice was the ghost that occupied a corner and slept as soon as he entered the jade space. He saw the ghost get up from the corner, and he couldn't see its shape clearly, but he was sure that Lin Yi's berserk state woke it up. But it was no wonder that Lin Yi didn't suppress his strength at all. He was running around in the space of the jade pendant, activating all the pure energy in his body. The pure energy in the space of the jade pendant was running around with Lin Yi. That damn thing couldn't train in peace here. You're up? Jiao Yazi was stunned. He didn't expect this ghost to wake up at this time. And he didn't know if it was a friend or foe, or if it would cause trouble. This place is in chaos because of this little guy. How can I not get up? I can't stop even if I want to. After the ghost complained, it suddenly looked at Lin Yi, who was running crazily in the jade space. What's wrong with him? Seems like he's possessed. That's right. Do you have a way? Jiao Yazi was stunned for a moment, and he quickly asked. He didn't expect this ghost to see the problem. Has his cultivation gone astray? The ghost said lazily. Forget it. I don't care what's wrong with you. Since I'm training in your territory, and you're disturbing me, I'll help you. You can help him? Jiao Yazi was happy and quickly asked. Of course I can. I'm different from you. You're just a wisp of primordial spirit. Although your body should be very strong, you're not as strong as me right now. That thing said proudly. Watch me. You really have a lot of nonsense, Jiao Yazi said coldly. If you can do it, hurry up. Kid, wake up, don't run. The ghost suddenly roared, causing the qi in the jade space to tremble. And Jiao Yazi also looked at the ghost in surprise. That loud roar might seem no different from a normal person speaking loudly, but in truth, there was something special about that loud roar. It could make people who had been possessed by qi deviation and were delirious snap out of the demons in their hearts. The loud roar contained an energy that could clear people's minds, and it had a similar effect as Shaolin Lion's roar. Chapter 2833. Then he recalled what happened before. Although Lin Yi was in a berserk state and didn't know what happened at that time, when Lin Yi woke up, he clearly heard the conversation between Jiao Yazi and the ghostly thing. Thinking that it was the ghostly thing that woke him up and brought him back to reality from the nightmare, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with a touch of gratitude. Originally, he was very unhappy with the ghostly thing's behavior of occupying the magpie's nest without a greeting, but he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't wake it up or chase it away, so Lin Yi could only let it do as it pleased. However, he still felt conflicted in his heart. At this time, Lin Yi realized that it was a wise thing to keep this ghostly thing in the space of the jade pendant. Without its existence, he was afraid that he would soon become the eight-legged lizard's prey. Thank you very much. Lin Yi cupped his fist at the ghostly thing. I can't thank you enough for your kindness. You can continue to cultivate here. Haha, young man, that's a good thing. However, it's not right for me to not do something for you since I'm staying here. You don't have to thank me. We're just using each other. The ghostly thing said. Me? Are you a human or a ghost? Lin Yi was stunned. You don't have to worry about this. With your current strength, it doesn't matter if you know or not. You should just take care of the things in front of you. The ghostly thing reminded him, and shook its head. Sigh, I'm awake, but it's not good for me to sleep again. It's really troublesome. Lin Yi was speechless, but the ghostly thing was right. He really had something to do here. Although the eight-legged lizard crawled slowly, it was about to reach him. Lin Yi clearly saw what happened between Skybolt Pig and the eight-legged lizard outside the Five Evils wildlands. Lenny was very grateful for Skybolt Pig's bravery. He didn't know what it said to the lizard, but it was obvious that the conversation failed. Skybolt Pig was beaten up by the lizard, and although he didn't die, Lin Yi's feelings for Skybolt Pig deepened a lot. Lin Yi returned to reality and quickly ran over, picked up Skybolt Pig, and ran towards the direction of safety. Seeing Lin Yi wake up all of a sudden, picking up the pig and running, everyone froze. They were both surprised and happy, but Naipeo's eyes were filled with amazement. He didn't understand how Lin Yi had woken up all of a sudden. Logically, this shouldn't be possible. Although there were some strong-willed people who could wake up on their own, but those were all Sky classes, Earth classes, and Sky class practitioners were very rare. Lin Yi was an Earth class late phase. How could he wake up on his own? Piggy, thank you, Lin Yi said gratefully to Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig was a bit surprised. He didn't think that Lin Yi would wake up from the illusion so quickly. It was worth the time he had wasted. He called out excitedly, "Oink oink, Skybolt Pig, but I'll heal you later. There's still a problem in front of us." Lin Yi quickly ran towards safety, but Naipeo's problem wasn't solved yet. There was something in the jade space that could wake him up, but if Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Guxian, Zhao Qikuan, and the others were affected, then it'd be troublesome. Oink oink, Skybolt Pig nodded. He wouldn't die anytime soon, and he didn't need to rush to heal himself. The lizard saw Lin Yi run away with Skybolt Pig to safety, and hesitated. It didn't chase after Lin Yi. Its walking speed was already slow, and if it were to chase after Lin Yi, it'd be fine, but Lin Yi might be able to hide in a safe place before it could catch up. Lin Yi, you're fine? Naipeo looked at Lin Yi confused. He didn't expect Lin Yi to wake up on his own. I'm fine, are you disappointed? Lin Yi looked at Naipeo faintly, a strange light in his eyes. Lin Yi, you may have woken up this time, but I don't believe that you'll be this lucky every time. Even a Sky class has a chance of waking up by themselves. You can't avoid it every time. Naipeo said. Haha, is that so? Then can you dodge it? Lin Yi asked back. Me? What do you mean? Naipeo paused. Nothing much, Lin Yi said, but he was trying his best to recall the method Naipeo used to activate the Hell's Demon's Fist. Lin Yi had an all-rounder skill, and he could modify and fuse his own skills. So, ever since Lin Yi woke up, he'd been trying to remember and imitate the activation method of Naipeo's Dark Demon Fist. Naipeo's Thorn Arts was a passive skill, and he didn't need to activate it himself. So Lin Yi couldn't imitate it even if he wanted to. Without the incantation, he wouldn't be able to use it at all. The Hell's Demon Fist, however, was different. Lin Yi had already seen through Naipeo's gestures and activation method, and he was pretty close to it in his mind. He just didn't know if he'd be able to activate it on the first try. Lin Yi, since you're fine, then let's call it a draw. We can't do anything to each other, so let's call it a draw. We'll fight again next time. Naipeo could still use the Dark Demon Fist one more time, but if Lin Yi woke up this time, then killing him would be a piece of cake. And so, Naipeo hesitated a little, not daring to use the Dark Demon Fist again. Using the Thorn Arts to fight Lin Yi head-on wouldn't be able to outlast Lin Yi, and so he decided to retreat. What? Scared? Lin Yi said faintly. Where's your strength from before? Lin Yi, don't think that I'm scared of you. If it weren't for leaving you for Liang Bro, I wouldn't let you go so easily. Naipeo humphed coldly. Is that so? Do you think that you can fight whenever you want? Is this savage land of five evils your home? Lin Yi knew that Naipeo was putting on a brave front, but Lin Yi wasn't planning on letting him go so easily. If it weren't for the thing in the jade that pulled him back to reality, Lin Yi would have been killed by that lizard already. Lin Yi, don't be so shameless. I don't believe that you'll be able to wake up this time. Naipeo's face twisted as he started channeling the incantation, ready to use the Dark Demon Fist again. Chapter 2834. Qikuan opened his eyes as well. He was surprised to see that Lin Yi was fine. Boss, you're all right? Naipeo was in disbelief as well. Why didn't the ape attack Lin Yi? It was understandable if it didn't see Lin Yi, But it did see Lin Yi. And it wasn't like it couldn't beat Lin Yi. But it didn't do anything. How strange. Could it be that the ape had just killed someone and didn't have any energy left? Li Siba just couldn't figure it out. He shook his head and said, "That doesn't make sense. This ape looks quite energetic." Perhaps the giant ape's personality was better, allowing Brother Lin to escape, Gu Xian analyzed. That's probably the case. Feng Shipian nodded as well, feeling lucky. But as the saying goes, you can hide the first time, but you can't hide forever. Just when everyone was letting out a breath of relief, a black tiger sprinted towards them. It wasn't heading towards Lin Yi, but it was still within the tiger's line of sight. This black tiger had a violent temperament, and when it saw a human practitioner, there was no hope of survival. It even fed on some low-level spirit beasts, unlike most spirit beasts, who use training as a substitute for food. Some of the low-ranked spirit beasts here would hide far away when they saw the ferocious black tiger spirit beast, lest they were beaten to a pulp. And so, this black tiger was only mystic early phase, but in everyone's eyes, it was even scarier than the ape from before. Lin Yi was in its line of sight, and there was no way Lin Yi could escape this. How could I be so unlucky? Chikuan sighed. He thought that Lin Yi would be able to avoid this, but he didn't expect it to happen so soon. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian all took in a cold breath. It was indeed unlucky. He'd just escaped the wolf pack and entered the tiger's mouth. And it was much more dangerous than before. Skybolt Pig looked at the tiger faintly, but didn't move. Logically speaking, his strength as a mystic late-phase peak should have been enough to suppress the tiger. But he didn't do that. He just sat there, thinking about how to get Lin Yi out of this situation. But Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Gu Xian, and Chikuan had all forgotten about Skybolt Pig. They didn't think about the level suppression from the spirit beasts either. As far as they were concerned, Lin Yi wasn't going to make it. But what they didn't expect was that a miracle happened once more. The tiger saw Lin Yi, but it didn't attack Lin Yi at all. It just looked at him for a while before it sped away, not intending to get close to Lin Yi. This time, even Zhang Naipeo's mouth was wide open in shock. If the first time was luck, then how could the second time still be luck? Especially against this ferocious tiger. There was no way he could survive. But who would have thought that the tiger didn't attack Lin Yi at all? It didn't make sense. In fact, what they didn't know was that Lin Yi had the fragrance bag that Tian Chan gave him. So in the ape's eyes, Lin Yi was a spirit beast. The ape's intelligence was quite high, on par with Skybolt Pig's, and so it looked at Lin Yi a few times, thinking that Lin Yi was a spirit beast, but at the same time he wasn't one. It hadn't seen his face before. But he did look like a practitioner. But while the ape wasn't weak, it wasn't violent. As far as it was concerned, it thought that Lin Yi was a spirit beast as well. So naturally, it wouldn't attack. It was confused, but it still left. The other practitioners were far away, and there was no need for it to attack them. The black tiger, on the other hand, was extremely ferocious, but it was only a mystic early phase. And in its eyes, Lin Yi was just an Earth-class late-phase spirit beast. According to the level suppression of spirit beasts, it could only bully golden-class spirit beasts. And whether or not Lin Yi looked like a spirit beast, it didn't dare look at him for long. This was also why Skybolt Pig didn't make a move. He knew about the fragrance bag that Tian Chan gave to Lin Yi, and he was a spirit beast as well. He had personally felt the magic of the fragrance bag, and so he wasn't worried that Lin Yi would be attacked by spirit beasts. Lin Yi successfully dodged the first two spirit beasts, but not long after, a Sky-class 8-legged lizard slowly passed by. This lizard had the strength of Sky-class mid-phase, and while it crawled very slowly, its strength was not to be underestimated. One look, and you could tell that it wasn't easy to mess with it. Its eyes were red as it stared at Lin Yi, who was running around not too far away. I hope boss can survive this, but it should be fine, right? Chikuan wasn't too worried this time. Yeah, Brother Lin may be in a crazed state, but the spirit beasts seem to be very friendly to him. There must be some secret, Feng Shipian said as well. That's true. Gu Xian nodded as well. I heard that there's a secret art that allows a human practitioner to disguise as a spirit beast. I don't know if it's true or not, But it seems like Brother Lin has this secret art. These people weren't panicking this time, but Skybolt Pig was scared out of his wits. Other people didn't know, but he knew that Sky-class spirit beasts weren't stupid. Lin Yi's fragrance bag could be hidden from spirit beasts below Sky-class, but it wouldn't work on spirit beasts above Sky-class. From the eyes of the eight-legged lizard, one could see that it was pissed off at Lin Yi and was ready to kill Lin Yi. However, even though the Skybolt Pig realized that something was wrong, it did not know what to do. Given its strength, it could not stop the eight-legged lizard at all. But even if it could not, the Skybolt Pig could only bite the bullet and negotiate with it. The eight-legged lizard was slowly crawling towards Lin Yi, ready to kill this human practitioner who was provoking it. GG. Skybolt Pig quickly ran over to the eight-legged lizard. Chapter 2835. Hellfire Fist. Lin Yi yelled. The reason why he said so much was because he was simulating the Hellfire Fist in his mind, and now he could use it. Wah! Naipeo was in the middle of channeling his practitioner's arts when he heard Lin Yi say something so familiar. He paused and raised his head to look at Lin Yi, only to see Lin Yi's fist coming at him. Naipeo quickly changed his practitioner's arts and started channeling his thorn arts. He didn't know what Lin Yi's Hellfire Fist was, but he had his own arts to protect himself. Naturally, he wasn't afraid. Boom! Lin Yi copied Naipeo's style and channeled the Hellfire Fist chi into his fist, shooting it straight into Naipeo's head. In order to make this move more effective, Lin Yi channeled the ninth form of the Hellfire Fist, and so Lin Yi's Hellfire Fist was equivalent to the ninth form of the Hellfire Fist. But even so, Naipeo's thorn still managed to reflect 240% of the Hellfire Fist back, and only 20% of it landed on Lin Yi's body. Of course, that 240% didn't affect Lin Yi at all. It was all absorbed by the golden cicada underwear. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that this Hellfire Fist would use up so much chi, almost as much as the Fire 8 trigram palm. Lin Yi channeled the ninth form of the Hellfire Fist, and although it was successful, all of the chi in Lin Yi's body seemed to be released from his body along with Lin Yi's technique, shooting towards Naipeo's head. Lin Yi's chi seemed to have been sucked dry, and Lin Yi didn't have time to think before falling to the ground. Ah! Naipeo held his head, a flash of shock in his eyes before turning into a red haze. He took off running towards the direction of the Five Fiends Barons. Naipeo didn't think that he'd be able to use the Hell's Demon's Fist, or rather, the Hellfire Fist. It didn't look like it, but the effect was more or less the same. Naipeo felt as if he'd fallen into a sea of fire, and an endless amount of fire appeared behind him, scaring him into a run, afraid that the fire would burn him. Lin Yi's Hellfire Fist didn't have the same effect as Naipeo's, but it could create a sea of fire that was incredibly realistic, making it hard for people to tell the difference between real and fake. It was an illusion that they couldn't pull themselves out of. And so, while Naipeo didn't have any painful memories or hallucinations, he did have the feeling that he was in hell, as if he was being tormented by a sea of fire in hell. The pain was even more intense. Think about it. Anyone who had a sea of fire behind them wouldn't feel good, and they'd have to keep running. Naipeo felt like that right now, as if he would be swallowed by the sea of fire if he stopped even for a second. So in order to survive, he had to keep running. In the blink of an eye, Naipeo was gone, and Lin Yi was sitting on the ground, recovering a bit of his chi. He was ready to have Feng Shipian and Li Sibyl work together to kill Naipeo. But Naipeo was already far away. Lin Yi didn't have any chi left, and naturally, he couldn't chase after Naipeo himself. But this place was full of danger, and Lin Yi didn't want Feng Shipian and Li Sibyl to take the risk. If Naipeo didn't catch up and ran into a spirit beast, it wouldn't be worth it. Plus, Naipeo wasn't slow, and whether or not they could catch up was another matter. So Lin Yi only felt a little regretful before letting it go. He'd let Naipeo die on his own. With his crazed state, even if he didn't get killed by the spirit beast, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. Lin Yi didn't believe that someone who didn't know how to heal would be able to find a portal to leave this place. If Naipeo didn't wake up by the end of the test, then he'd have to live here forever. Boss, how are you? Are you okay? Chikuan asked as he saw Lin Yi sitting on the ground. It's fine. I just used up all the pure chi in my body. It's nothing serious. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I'll heal Skybolt Pig first. We'll talk when we get back to safety. All right. Chikuan quickly walked over and held Lin Yi. Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian were all looking at Lin Yi with admiration. They didn't think that things would turn out this way. The powerful Zhang Naipeo had been defeated by Lin Yi. It was supposed to be Lin Yi's crazed state, but now it was Zhang Naipeo. Before, the three of them weren't as strong as Lin Yi, so they didn't call Lin Yi boss like Chikuan did. They only called Lin Yi their captain. But now, they were leaning towards building a good relationship with Lin Yi. Boss, what do we do with Demon 8's body? Li Siba worshipped Lin Yi the most. His sect mate had been injured by Naipeo, and now that Naipeo was being driven insane by Lin Yi, he was the happiest. He'd gotten his revenge, especially now that Naipeo's 2 followers were gone. He made up his mind that he'd report this to his master when he got back to the sect and re-evaluate his relationship with Lin Yi. But no matter what the sect decided, he'd decided that Lin Yi was his boss. Calling him boss was something that came out of their mouths. And only then did Li Siba realize that his Sky Class strength was nothing at all. Was Naipeo a Sky Class? Were Demon 8 and Demon 9 Sky Class? Dongfang Bulu was a Sky Class late phase peak, and even he was killed by Naipeo. On the other hand, it was Lin Yi, an Earth Class late phase, who killed Naipeo's group. You really couldn't judge strength by level. That's right, boss. What do we do with the 2 dogs from the Dark Palace? Gu Xian asked, not backing down. Boss, the 2 of them want to run. I'll go capture them. Feng Shipian saw the 2 disciples of the Dark Palace trying to sneak away, and quickly volunteered to help. All of a sudden, the 3 all called Lin Yi boss, and Chikuan quickly said, Hey, you guys may be from the ancient class, but you've joined boss faction later, so you have to call me Bro Zhao or Bro Chitan. Chapter 2836. That's good. Lin Yi said. You guys can put Demon 8's body at the entrance of the safety. If a strong practitioner tries to do anything, just tell him that I killed Zhang Naipeo. And if he tries to cause trouble, he'll end up the same as Demon 8. Of course, don't say that unless it's absolutely necessary, just in case they get desperate. We understand, boss, don't worry, we know what we're doing, Feng Shipian said quickly. If I'm not back by the end of the test, then you guys go to the portal yourself. I have a way to deal with the 5 malice chi. But you guys can't, Lin Yi said after some thought. That. Alright. Chikuan hesitated, but still nodded. All they could do was listen to Lin Yi, and not cause him any trouble. If the 5 malice chi invaded their bodies, it'd be even more troublesome. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything more. He picked up the pig and strode out of the safety. There were some spirit beasts passing by, but as long as they weren't Sky-class spirit beasts, there wouldn't be a problem. In fact, heaven-rank spirit beasts were the same as heaven-rank human cultivators. They were very rare. The total number of heaven-rank human cultivators didn't exceed 2 digits. Even if those newly advanced heaven-rank cultivators were added, there would only be a little over 100 of them. They were like phoenix feathers and water chestnuts. It was the same for spirit beasts as well. In the vast 5 malice wilderness, there wouldn't be more than 2 digits of Sky-class spirit beasts, even fewer than human Sky-class practitioners. After all, it was much harder for spirit beasts to level up than human practitioners. And so, Lin Yi wasn't too worried, and quickly ran towards the direction of 5 Malice Mountains. After a day and a night of rushing, Lin Yi once again arrived at the foot of the 5 Fiends mountain range. On the way, Lin Yi only saw 1 heaven-rank spirit beast, which Lin Yi promptly dodged. The other heaven-rank spirit beasts completely ignored Lin Yi's existence. Of course, Lin Yi also discovered that these spiritual beasts had become more violent than when he first entered the 5 evil savage lands. Along the way, Lin Yi often saw cultivators' corpses. It was a ghastly sight, and there were at least 3 or 4 of them. They must have been killed by spirit beasts. Before this, It was not easy for Lin Yi to see the corpses of cultivators. He did not expect that not long after, the scene would change. However, there were no spirit beasts or cultivators' corpses near the Five Fiends mountain range. Looking at the undulating Five Fiends mountain range, Lin Yi felt a little emotional. The scene of him parting with Tian Chan was still vivid in his mind, as if it was just a moment ago. But now, he was the only one left here. Lin Yi also did not know why he could not forget about Tian Chan. So much so that she would appear in the illusion previously. Could it be that he had fallen in love with her? However, what made Lin Yi feel the most strange was that the young lady whom he had only met a few times in the Snowy Valley, why would she appear in the illusion previously? Moreover, in the environment, her appearance was so clear. When he was in the Snowy Valley, Lin Yi did not see her appearance clearly, he only saw a hazy outline. In theory, there was no image of her in his own memory, but in the environment, could it be that he had imagined her? It was a pure, sunny beauty, but it was so vivid and lifelike, without the coldness she had in the Snowy Valley. Lin Yi was a little confused, but because of the illusion effect from Naipeo's dark demon fist, Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. Right now his priority was to find Yang Qiqi. Lin Yi walked towards the top of the Five Fiends mountain range. He didn't know if Yang Qiqi was here for the Five Fiends dragon, but according to Skybolt Pig's findings, the rest of the treasures were all in the Five Fiends dragon's cave. And so Lin Yi didn't go anywhere else, he went straight to the cave. This was the second time he went to the Five Fiends dragon's cave, and Lin Yi was familiar with the way. He didn't even need Skybolt Pig to lead the way, and he arrived at the entrance of the cave without a hitch. The Five Fiends dragon was lying in the cave, doing who knew what when it heard a noise outside. It got up immediately and looked outside, surprised and confused when it saw Lin Yi. Evidently, the Five Fiends dragon recognized Lin Yi. It had thrown Lin Yi and Tian Chan off the cliff earlier, and now that Lin Yi was back, it was confused. First of all, a practitioner of Lin Yi's strength would be gravely injured, even if he didn't die from falling off a cliff. Not to mention climbing back up from the bottom, it would be hard for him to even recover from his injuries. Second of all, the Five Fiends dragon knew just how hard the cliff was. Human practitioners couldn't climb up from the bottom, and so when it saw Lin Yi, it thought that it was Lin Yi's twin brother. However, when it saw the Skybolt Pig next to Lin Yi, the Five Fiends dragon confirmed that Lin Yi was the same Lin Yi from before. However, it was even more puzzled. So the Five Fiends dragon didn't rush to attack Lin Yi. Instead it asked, "Little fella, how did you get up here?" You can talk." Lin Yi didn't expect the Five Fiends dragon to speak the human language. However, when he thought about it, the Great Fire Lion and the Heaven Spider he met in the Wulong Haut mountain range could speak the human language. As the king of the Five Fiends wilderness, it wasn't strange for the Five Fiends dragon to speak the human language. "Of course I can." The Five Fiends dragon was a little dissatisfied with Lin Yi's question. "Little fella, you still haven't answered my question." "Of course I climbed up. How else do you think I got up here?" Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and said, "If you can talk, why didn't you say anything earlier? Also, why did you throw me down? You are in cahoots with the little girl from before, so I naturally had to throw you down." The Five Fiends dragon said matter-of-factly, "However, since you came up here, I'll let you go. I won't throw you down again. Go. Don't let me see you again." "Then why did you throw her down?" Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. "You are in cahoots with her? Why?" The Five Fiends dragon was stunned. "I'm not in cahoots with her. I just happened to meet her here." Lin Yi shook his head. Chapter 2837. Is the spirit herb that was stolen from you on Demon 8? Meng Qi asked. "Take them all back." Lin Yi pointed at Monster 8's body. "Boss, those elixirs are all in Naipeo's backpack, not with Demon 8, but there's some Xiaohuan pills on him." Li Siba searched Monster 8's body and found a few pills. He was about to give them to Lin Yi. "Oh, the pills, you guys can split them." Lin Yi waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need them. Remembering that Naipeo had taken the herbs, Lin Yi was a little depressed. I should have just taken his herbs first. It's fine, boss. We're happy enough with this result. Even if we didn't pass the test, it's fine. Lysiba didn't mind. Also, you killed this monster 8, boss. So naturally the pills are yours. How could we take them? Haha, I don't need them. I'm a refiner too. Linny smiled, not saying much else. Siba, since boss says so, then let's split them. Chikuan knew Lin Yi's personality, and he was a man of his word. Alright, thank you, boss. Lysiba took a look at the number of minor rejuvenation pills. There were still 5 left. Brother Zhao, you've been with the boss for a long time, so you're our elder brother as well. You can take 2 of these pills. The rest of us can take 1 each. Alright. Chikuan didn't reject and nodded. The 2 disciples from the Dark Palace were ready to run, but they were afraid of encountering spirit beasts, so they hesitated. They were hesitating at the entrance of the safe place when Feng Shipian saw them. He stopped them. You two, where do you think you're going? Ugh. Young Master Feng, we've rested enough here, we're leaving. Disciple A stuttered. Oh, leaving just like that? You're not going to say anything? Feng Shipian looked at them with a smile that was not a smile. Thinking back to when he first came here, he was intimidated by the 2 of them. Feng Shipian felt the thrill of revenge. Young Master Feng, it was Zhang Naipeo who took your herbs. It had nothing to do with us. We were just trying to protect ourselves, sorry. Dark Palace Disciple B quickly said. Is that so? Then what about the trials elixirs on you? Didn't you take them from us? Feng Shipian said faintly. Disciple A's face froze, but there was nothing he could do. He took out the herbs and gave them to Feng Shipian. Then we'll give them back to you. Can we leave now? Wait, we'll ask the boss. Feng Shipian didn't let him go right away. Instead, he looked at Lin Yi, who was walking over. Let them go. There's no point in keeping them. Lin Yi waved his hand. What are you waiting for? Feng Shipian scolded the Dark Palace disciples. Yes. Thank you very much. The 2 disciples of the Dark Palace left without looking back. Lin Yi hugged the pig and started channeling the 2nd stage of the art of dragon mastery. He quickly healed the pig's wounds. Lin Yi was very worried about Chi-Chi's situation. She went to Five Fiends Mountain alone. He didn't know what she was looking for. Other than the 5 Fiends dragon, Lin Yi really didn't know what else was there. If she was looking for the 5 Fiends dragon, she wouldn't be a match for the 5 Fiends dragon. Of course, Chi-Chi was always biting the hand that fed her. But Lin Yi saw that she was from the same sect as him, and that she might be looking for the 9th princess herb. Lin Yi had to save her no matter what. And so, Lin Yi didn't have time to care about the lives of the 2 disciples. They were just 2 lackeys after all. If they left, then so be it. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with people like that. After quickly healing the pig, Lin Yi recovered quite a bit of chi as well. It wasn't a full recovery, but Lin Yi really didn't want to waste any more time. The sooner he left, the sooner Chi-Chi would be safe. Who knew how Chi-Chi was right now? Boss, you're done? Feng Shipian, Lysiba, Guxian and Chikuan had been protecting Lin Yi as he healed. Chikuan asked quickly when he saw Lin Yi open his eyes. I'm good, did someone come? Lin Yi asked. Yes, 2 practitioners came here to seek refuge, but Feng Shipian chased them away, Chikuan said. They were killed by a spirit beast as soon as they left, Lin Yi nodded. It seemed a bit cruel, but that was how the world of practitioners worked. The strong preyed on the weak, and there was no reason at all. Feng Shipian was afraid that the 2 would disturb Lin Yi's healing, so it made sense for him to chase them away forcefully. Not taking their herbs was already very kind of him. Although Lin Yi was in the jade space, he had a general idea of what was going on outside. The 2 didn't have good intentions when they first came in, but after Feng Shipian and Lysiba revealed their sky-class strength, they backed off and didn't dare to do anything rash. Especially after seeing Mo Ba and Master Yang's corpses on the ground, they quickly retreated, thinking that the 2 were killed by Feng Shipian. Also, while you've been healing, boss, the number of spirit beasts passing through the safe area has increased. As if they're going berserk, Guxian said. Is that so? Lin Yi frowned. He didn't know what it meant for a spirit beast to go berserk, but it definitely wasn't a good thing for the participants of the test. Yeah, we don't dare go out anymore. Lisiba said. Zhang Naipeo and his men are gone. You guys won't get bullied here, I'm relieved. Lenny stood up. Now I'm going to the Five Fiends Mountains, wait for me here. Five Fiends Mountains? Boss, you're going to find Yang Chichi? Chikuan asked, realizing what Lenny was planning. That's right, Lenny nodded. The Five Fiends Mountains are very dangerous, I have to go find her. Chapter 2838. I see. Lenny felt a little guilty. Although Tian Chan was the one who activated the Five Evils origin, he was the one who benefited from it in the end. However, he couldn't say this out loud. Otherwise, the Dragon of Five Evils would do something even more frightening when it was enraged. Are you done? You can leave now. The Dragon of Five Evils obviously didn't want to talk to Lenny anymore. After saying this, it lowered its head and didn't look at Lenny anymore. Lenny smiled bitterly. It seemed that the Dragon of Five Evils didn't talk to him and Tian Chan before, because it looked down on them. Now that it talked, it was just strange that he didn't fall to his death, and instead climbed up from the bottom of the cliff. By the way, I want to ask you something. After we left, did you see a girl? She was wearing a black leather coat and looked very cool? Lenny asked. Do you know her? Are you with her? The Dragon of Five Evils suddenly asked after listening. Yes, did you see her? Lenny asked quickly. Oh, do you want to see her? The Dragon of Five Evils asked instead of answering his question. Do you know where she is? Lenny asked hesitantly. He felt that the Dragon of Five Evils was up to no good. I know. I will send you to see her. After saying this, the Dragon of Five Evils suddenly moved. Although its body was huge, its speed wasn't slow. It suddenly rushed out of the cave and grabbed Lenny. What do you want? Lenny felt something was wrong and asked cautiously. The girl in black that you mentioned asked for the scale on my foot. I didn't give it to her, so she wanted to cut it secretly. She asked me to throw it down the valley. The Five Evils dragon snorted coldly and said, Since you're with her, you can go down again and keep her company. Wait, I can go down myself. There's no need to trouble you. Lenny said as his scalp tingled. It's too late. The Five Evils dragon swung its claws a few times, and with a swoosh, it threw Lenny down the cliff again. Before Skybolt Pig could catch Lenny was sent flying. GG. The Skybolt Pig was a little anxious as he watched Lenny fly away. He had no choice but to jump off the cliff himself. But he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to jump that far, or he might just fall to his death. However, the Dragon of Five Evils glanced at Skybolt Pig and did not do anything to him. Perhaps because they were of the same species, the Dragon of Five Evils turned around and returned to the cave, ignoring Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig hesitated. He wanted to chase after Lenny, but there was no point in going. He might as well stay here, and if Lenny's friends came looking for him, he'd be able to notify them in time. Lenny flew down the cliff, but this time, Lenny wasn't injured. He channeled his practitioner's arts and used his chi to protect himself. Lenny was only lightly injured, nothing too serious. After resting for a bit, Lenny got up from the ground and started looking for Chi-Chi. The bottom of the cliff was boundless, and it was easy for Lenny to spot Chi-Chi's silhouette. That black leather shirt and pants were very recognizable. Chi-Chi was lying on the ground not far away, not moving at all. He didn't know how she was doing. Lenny was startled and quickly ran over to check Chi-Chi's breath. She was still breathing, but it was very weak. Lenny let out a breath of relief. As long as Chi-Chi wasn't dead, there was still hope. Lenny didn't just focus only. He grabbed Chi-Chi's wrist and channeled the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, healing her internal injuries. Chi-Chi's injuries were all caused by the fall. She was a physical practitioner and didn't have chi to protect her body. Her condition was a little more serious. She was a mystic late-phase peak, but her practitioner's arts weren't focused on protecting her body, but on qigong. No matter how good her qigong was, falling from such a high place would leave her half dead. Chi-Chi seemed to have had a very long dream. She was thrown off the cliff by the Five Wrath Dragon, and she thought that she was done for. When she woke up, she didn't know if she was in heaven or on earth. Ugh! Chi-Chi opened her eyes. It was a familiar face surprising her. Lenny? You're dead too. Lenny was a little speechless. I'm not dead. Not dead? Then why do I see you? Chi-Chi was still a little confused. Because you're not dead either. Lenny said. Ah. Chi-Chi froze as she realized that all the pain was gone from her body. As if she was back to normal. She was in an unfamiliar place. Probably the bottom of a cliff. Chi-Chi remembered the last thing she saw before she closed her eyes. You're the one who healed my wounds? My ribs are all healed. Weren't they broken before? Yes. Lenny nodded. Then you took off my clothes again? Chi-Chi asked, shocked. I told you, you don't need to take off your clothes to heal. Your memory isn't good, is it? Lenny said. But I didn't know you could fix bones. Chi-Chi glared at Lenny a little wronged. Why are you always so mean to me? You were the one who was mean to me first, trying to kill me, right? I was the one who came to save you out of kindness. And you're still causing trouble. Lenny shrugged. I'm sorry. Chi-Chi remembered that they were at the bottom of the cliff, and that Lenny was here to find her. That meant that he'd gone to the 5 Fiends Mountains as well. Perhaps he'd fought the 5 Wrath Dragon as well. How else would he find her? At that thought, Chi-Chi felt a little apologetic. Yeah, Lenny had helped her time and time again. How could she not be grateful? But there was already someone else in her heart, and she couldn't accept anyone else. As a result, Chi-Chi was still upset that Lenny had seen her body. Ah, it's nothing. Lenny smiled. He didn't know why, but Lenny ignored Chi-Chi's tsundere attitude time and time again. One apology, and Lenny didn't mind Chi-Chi's hostility from before. How did you find this place? Did Zhao Qikuan and the others tell you? Chi-Chi changed the topic. Chapter 2839. Ah, I'm sorry. It's all because of me. I pissed off the dragon, and I dragged you down with me. Chi-Chi said apologetically. Lenny had helped her time and time again. How could she not be touched? Now that she thought about it, Chi-Chi felt guilty. Lenny didn't know her anything. So why was he helping her again and again? It's nothing. Even if it didn't throw me down, I'd jump down myself to find you. Lenny said. Our team came together. We couldn't just leave you here alone, could we? Right, how's Zhang Naipeo? Chi-Chi asked. He got revenge for you. Lenny didn't go into specifics, but Chi-Chi should be able to understand. As expected, Chi-Chi's mouth opened in shock. Ling Yi's strength was beyond her expectations. But it made sense, after all. When hadn't Lenny crushed his opponents beneath his feet? Yeah, Chi-Chi nodded. But thinking about how she failed to get the scale from the 5 Malefic Dragon, she couldn't help but feel a little down. Little Nine's condition was getting worse. It wasn't that serious before, but it had been getting worse and worse for the past year. And Chi-Chi had been running around looking for medicine and ways to cure Little Nine. Chi-Chi's house was a large assassin organization, but it was only one of the largest in the common world. If it weren't for Lil Nine's illness, they'd never have any contact with the training world. But in order to cure Lil Nine's illness, Chi-Chi had no choice but to step into an unknown territory. What's wrong? Lenny asked, seeing the heavy look on Chi-Chi's face. It's nothing. I didn't get what I wanted from the test. Chi-Chi sighed. You want to go ask the dragon for its scale? Lenny asked, a little moved. Yeah, I wanted to talk to it, but it didn't talk to me. I thought it was asleep, so I sneakily went to pluck one off. But it was just pretending to sleep. It grabbed me and threw me off the cliff. Chi-Chi said, a little troubled. Ugh. Lenny felt that Chi-Chi's actions were a bit crazy, but Lenny hadn't fought the 5 Malefic Dragon himself. Who would have thought that it was that strong? Chi-Chi didn't know how strong the dragon was either. Forget it, I'll think of another way. Chi-Chi sat on the ground, hugging her legs. That was what she said, but anyone could see the helplessness in her eyes. Do you really need the scales of the 5 Evils dragon? Ling Yi's heart softened as he asked. As long as it's something from the dragon's claw. It doesn't have to be a scale. Wouldn't it be even more pissed off if we cut off a piece of meat? Chi-Chi said. If it's something else from the dragon's claw, then what about this? Lenny took out the nail he'd collected from the 5 Malefic Dragon and showed it to Chi-Chi. This is... Chi-Chi blinked. This is a nail from the 5 Malefic Dragon. I fought it before, and it used its nail to stab a friend of mine. But the nail broke, so I kept it. Linny said. Ah. Chi-Chi was pleasantly surprised. She didn't think that the nail would be in Lin Yi's hands. Did this mean that this trip wasn't a waste? Chi-Chi wanted to take the nail from Lin Yi, but then remembered how precious it was. She couldn't just take something from Lin Yi for free. I don't have anything to trade with you. You'll trade yourself then. Lin Yi said seriously, holding back his laughter. Ah. Chi-Chi paused, not expecting a condition like this from Lin Yi. She didn't know what to do. Can't you change the condition? I can pay on credit. Where would I find you if you ran away? Lin Yi said. Chi-Chi went silent. That was right. Where would Lin Yi go to find her if she ran? Most importantly, Chi-Chi really did want that nail from Lin Yi's hand. With that, Lil Jo's illness could be cured. Haha, I'm just messing with you. Lin Yi put the nail in Chi-Chi's hand, smiling. Take it, it's a gift to you. Don't always think so badly of people. Chi-Chi took the nail from Lin Yi's hand, unable to hold back the tears that started falling down her cheeks. Why were you crying again? Wasn't I just joking? Lin Yi didn't know what to say as he looked at Chi-Chi's tear-stained face. No. Chi-Chi shook her head. Lin Yi, you're a good person. I won't kill you. But there's someone else in my heart already. I'll repay you in other ways. Is this a good person card? Lin Yi smiled, not caring. But a good person card is a good person card. Thank you. Chi-Chi smiled through her tears. How do I use this? Lin Yi couldn't imagine how the nail could be used to cure a disease. Do I just eat it? I don't know. I asked around for a long time, and looked through a lot of ancient books before I found out about the use of the claw. Chi-Chi said. How do you use it? You eat it, I guess? Alright, pretend I didn't ask. Lin Yi said. Let's get ready and go back to safety. Zhao Qikuan and the others are probably getting impatient. Alright, but how are we going to get up? Chi-Chi looked up and saw how high the cliff was. The height gave her a fright. There was no way they could jump up. I've come down once with someone before, and there are climbing marks on the cliff over there. We just need to follow the marks and jump up. Lin Yi said, pointing in a direction not far away. That's good. Chi-Chi breathed out in relief. She really wouldn't know how to get up there otherwise. She was just good at Qigong. But no matter how good she was, she couldn't jump that high. Lin Yi brought Chi-Chi to the place where he and Tian-Chan had jumped. Lin Yi decided to give it a try, and so he jumped towards the first spot Tian-Chan made. Chapter 2840. At first, Lin Yi didn't think about whether or not he could climb back up when he went down to save Chi-Chi. He thought that with the marks left behind by Tian-Chan, he would be able to climb up easily. But now, Lin Yi realized that he was wrong. He'd neglected the most important point. The difference in strength between him and Tian-Chan. Lin Yi's running speed was about the same as a sky class. But that didn't mean that his strength was the same. The height that a sky class could jump wasn't something that Lin Yi could reach with his current strength. Chi-Chi paused as she watched Lin Yi jump up and down, noticing the problem as well. She saw the marks left behind by Tian-Chan, but the height wasn't something Chi-Chi could reach. She knew her Qigong very well. There was no way she could reach that height. Lin Yi's failure made Chi-Chi's face change. The marks are too high. I can't jump up. I can't jump up either. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. That jump had pretty much used up all of Lin Yi's energy, but he still couldn't reach Tian-Chan's height. There was no way to make up for the difference in strength. Even if Lin Yi used all of his qi, he still wouldn't be able to beat Tian-Chan. And from the looks of it, not only could Tian-Chan jump that high, but she still had enough energy to use techniques to hit the cliffs. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had used up all of his energy just jumping, let alone hitting the cliffs. Plus, with Lin Yi's current strength, he probably wouldn't be able to do any damage to the cliffs. Tian-Chan had used her sky-class late phase peak strength, but she'd only left a few shallow marks on the cliffs. Ah, then Chi-Chi's eyes went wide at Lin Yi's words. We can't go up? I can't go up anymore. Lin Yi nodded. Previously, he had been anxious to save people, and had neglected these problems. Now that he had thought of it, it was too late. Unless another master on the level of Tian-chan came down to rescue them, Lenny was really helpless. Then how did you guys get up there? Chi-Chi asked curiously. Before, my friend was a sky-class late phase peak. Lenny told Chi-Chi about how he went up with Tian-chan, and how he helped Tian-chan replenish her stamina. Chi-Chi knew more than enough about him anyways, and Lenny didn't need to hide anything. Ah, I see. Then, is there no other way? Chi-Chi frowned. No. With that, Lenny told Chi-Chi about what he and Tian-chan had discussed before. Lenny had been trapped once before, so there was no point in looking for another way out. We can't get out. How can we? Chi-Chi couldn't accept this at all. She'd finally found the claw of the 5 malefic dragon, and she wanted to give it to little Nine as soon as possible. She didn't expect to be trapped here. That's the truth, Lenny said helplessly, but there was nothing he could do. We wouldn't be using this stupid method if there was another way out. Then, what about that sky-class late-phase peak friend of yours? Would she find out that you didn't go back and come looking for you? Chi-Chi asked hopefully. That friend of mine is just a chance acquaintance, a temporary companion. She left after going up here. There's no way she'd come back. Lenny shook his head. Lenny was actually panicking as well, but judging from Chi-Chi's expression, she'd probably go crazy if Lenny kept panicking. As a result, Lenny tried his best to look calm, but Lenny was actually panicking as well. But Lin Yi's hopes were on Skybolt Pig. The pig didn't come down with him. If he waited for a while and realized that he wasn't going up, would he go tell Feng Shipian and the others? But if it was just Li Siba and Feng Shipian, Lenny couldn't guarantee that they'd be able to make it up. Who knew if they were all stuck here? Lenny had thought about getting Li Siba to hit the cliff, but he was only a sky-class mid-phase, and while he was a physical practitioner, Lenny couldn't help him recover his chi. Even if Lenny brought him up, he'd probably give up halfway. Of course, he could let Li Siba recover on his own, and Lenny would bring him up after he'd recovered. That way, they'd be able to reach the next level. But the drawback was obvious as well. There was a time limit to the test, and after 20 days, the Five's malice chi would invade the body. Lenny was fine, but Li Siba and the others weren't. They'd probably go mad from the Five's malice chi invading their bodies before they even reached the halfway point. So this method wouldn't work. Lenny was conflicted. He didn't know what choice Skybolt Pig would make. Then, why did you come to save me? Doesn't that mean you're stuck here with me? Young Chi-Chi looked at Lenny, touched and sympathetic. She didn't know what to say. Lenny had helped her and taken care of her, and that was something she'd seen with her own eyes. She just didn't know how to repay him. Huh? Lenny smiled and didn't say anything else. Lenny could tell from the unique mark on Chi-Chi's ring that she came from the place he trained at when he was young, and since she was close to the 9th princess, she must be a core disciple there. But Lenny was still young back then, and his memories were still stuck in his childhood. He didn't even remember Yang Xiaoxiao and the 9th princess, let alone this girl. Lin Yi's memories were a little hazy, and even if he did remember, he probably wouldn't have much of an impression. Yang Xiaoxiao was his Shifu's daughter, and the 9th princess was his adopted daughter. The two were Lin Yi's companions when he was young. Ever since then, his Shifu had instilled in him that as a captain, he couldn't give up on any of the team members. He had to have teamwork in teamwork. This was one of the reasons why Lin Yi came looking for Yang Chi-Chi. Lin Yi felt a little emotional at the thought of Yang Xiaoxiao and the 9th princess. It had been so many years since he'd gone back. It was about time. From the princess tone, Lin Yi could tell that she wasn't happy that he hadn't been back for so many years. Chapter 2841. But now he had finally settled down. There were still dangers in life, but it was different from before. Lin Yi had a goal now, and he had a sense of existence. This was the first time Lin Yi had looked at the 9th princess after looking at Yu Ning. I've said it before, you're a member of my team. I won't give up on any team member, Lin Yi said. Ah, Chi-Chi felt that this sentence was familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it. She only thanked Lin silently. She decided that if they could leave this place successfully, she would do everything she could to help Lin find out what Lin needed in Europe. Don't worry, there's always a way. Let's eat something first. You're hungry, right? Lin asked. Yeah, a little. Chi-Chi rubbed her stomach. She was worried that she wouldn't be able to leave this place, but now that Lin mentioned it, she really was hungry. Then wait for me here. I'll go catch some fish from the lake over there. Lin said as he stood up and walked towards the lake the pig pointed him to. Chi-Chi looked at Lin Yi's back as he left, her heart filled with complicated emotions. She felt guilty as well. She'd treated Lin badly, and she'd been biting the hand that fed her. But Lin didn't mind, and helped her every time she was in danger. Chi-Chi wasn't someone with a heart of stone, so how could she not be touched? Naturally, Lin didn't know that Chi-Chi's opinion of him had changed. He caught 4 or 5 fish in the lake, and quickly went back to where he'd come from. He prepared the fish quickly and skillfully before putting them in a clean place, and starting to roast them. Alright, eat. Lin gave most of the fish to Chi-Chi, but only took one for himself. Why are you only eating one? Chi-Chi asked, a little embarrassed to eat it alone. I'm a spiritual practitioner, I'll be fine after a while. You're a physical practitioner, your recovery is slower, Lin said. Then, I won't hold back. Chi-Chi nodded. The difference between spiritual and physical practitioners was that spiritual practitioners could absorb the chi in the air and turn it into their own chi for their own use. Physical practitioners, on the other hand, had to train their body to achieve their goal. Although physical experts could also use the surrounding spiritual chi for their own use after practicing martial arts, their recovery speed was still a notch lower than that of internal cultivators. Physical practitioners, on the other hand, consumed their physical strength slowly, because martial arts used the chi around them instead of using their own chi. There were pros and cons to each. However, if the physical practitioner did not use martial arts, then Zhang Naipeo's thorn arts would lose its effect. Zhang Naipeo's thorn arts could bounce 80% of the chi back to 240%. If the physical practitioner did not use martial arts, and only used his strong body to hit Zhang Naipeo, there would be no rebound. However, not to mention that the masters of the Holy Fist Palace did not know about this situation. Even if they knew, they would not cause too much damage to Zhang Naipeo with the strength of their bodies. After all, physical masters also relied on martial arts to win. This was why physical practitioners were no match for spiritual practitioners at a low level. On the contrary, when they were at a high level, they would usually be stronger than spiritual practitioners of the same level. This was also because when external experts activated their martial skills, they mobilized the true energy around their bodies, unlike internal experts who emitted it from their bodies. The higher the level of external experts, the more spiritual energy they could mobilize, and naturally, the more powerful they would be. Young Chi-Chi had a good meal of grilled fish. She sat on the ground in a daze looking at the cliff. The sky was getting dark, but young Chi-Chi didn't feel sleepy. She was trapped here, and she didn't know when she could get out. Lin say, if we can't think of a way to get out when the time is up, will the 5 evils chi invade our bodies and cause us to go crazy? Young Chi-Chi asked worriedly. I don't think so. I'll walk around tomorrow and see if there's a way out, Lin said. Okay. Young Chi-Chi nodded. She didn't know why she trusted Lin more and more after experiencing so many things with him. Lin Yi's words made her feel at ease. The next morning at dawn, Lin Yi set off to find a way out. However, Lin Yi couldn't find a good way after walking around for a long time. It seemed that Tian Chan knew this place very well. If she said there was no way, then there was no way. Since Tian Chan could accept the inheritance here, she must know more about the 5 Evils Mountain than him. So Lin Yi gave up when he couldn't find a way. He turned to the direction of the lake and continued to catch fish. After catching a few fish, Lin Yi returned to the place where he and young Chi-Chi were stationed and continued to grill fish. Young Chi-Chi saw that Lin Yi was back. She couldn't just sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor, so she asked, What can I do for you? Do you want me to clean these fish? It's fine, I'm used to it. Just wait. Lenny shook his head and started cleaning the fish like he was used to. Yanjing City. A pack of cigarettes was quickly finished by Tianli. He tried his best to reduce the amount of cigarettes he smoked, but it didn't take long before there was only one pack left. Tianli picked up his phone and was about to call Mr. Lang when his phone rang. What surprised him was that it was Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang, I was just about to call you. Tianli smiled as he picked up the phone. Mr. Liu, are you panicking? You gave me the money, scared that I'd run away? Xiao Chun smiled brightly. Haha, how could that be? Mr. Lang and I have a strategic partnership. Our medicine business is a couple $100 million a year. Why would Mr. Lang care about $30 million? Tianli really didn't think that Mr. Lang would lie to him. On one hand, it was the hypnotist's work, and on the other, the two companies had a couple $100 million a year. Mr. Lang wouldn't care about this small amount of money. I'm just joking, Mr. Liu. I have good news for you. Xiao Chun said, changing the topic. Oh, what good news? Do you have more cigarettes? Tianli paused and asked. We do have cigarettes, but they're all booked the moment the goods arrived. Mr. Liu, I think you should hold it in for a while. We should focus on making money first. Xiao Chun said. Chapter 2852. Closing the net. Ah? All booked? None left. Tianli said, shocked. Mr. Lang, I can't do that. You have to at least leave some for me. I'd rather make less money than keep some for myself. But the profit is very high. The price of a carton of cigarettes is about 10,000 yuan. I can sell it for more than 20,000 yuan. This batch of goods has a total of 2,000 cartons. Once I sell it, I can make a profit of 200%. Xiao Chun said. We invested 30 million, including the money we used to bribe the gangsters when we smuggled them in. That's 50 million worth of profit. That won't make much of a difference. Leave me 10, no 20. Tianli thought that the cigarettes would be expensive, but it didn't seem that expensive. He let out a sigh of relief and asked for more. 20? I'll try my best then. 10 should be fine. 20 depends on the situation. Xiao Chun hesitated for a moment and said, by the way, Mr. Liu, let's split the money we earned, about 13 million yuan each. Shall I transfer it to your company's account? Oh, just this one deal? You won't do it again? Tianli paused. The profits moved him quite a bit. He was a conservative person, and he could keep his business, but starting a business was a bit difficult. Naturally, he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Plus, these cigarettes had become his daily necessities. If he didn't have these cigarettes, he couldn't imagine how he would be able to endure it. So subconsciously, Tianli hoped that this deal would continue. It's too much money to bribe the gangsters once. This time, I'll use my connections. Next time, they'll probably have to pay 20 to 30 million before they're willing to help us smuggle boats. That way, there won't be much profit. I'm thinking about doing it again, Mr. Lang said, playing hard to get. Our capital is limited after all. There's no point in doing it again. Is that so? Tianli didn't understand the details of smuggling. He had always been doing proper business. And even when he was importing, it was through the official customs channel. He had never asked a gangster to smuggle a boat. So when Mr. Lang said that, he believed him. But Tianli wasn't too satisfied. Then should we increase the amount of stock each time? Should we talk to those gangsters again? It's not impossible, but I'm afraid that it'll take up too much of Mr. Liu's capital. And I'm also afraid that Mr. Liu will think that this isn't a proper business, Mr. Lang said. The capital can be researched, but this business, this huge profit isn't something I'm interested in. How is that possible? Tianli said. Mr. Lang, where are you? I'll come find you, and we can talk about it. I'm at the hotel. Let me bring Lil Chui to your company, and I'll bring you the cigarettes on the way. Xiao Chun said. All right, I'll wait for you at my company, Mr. Lang. Tianli quickly said. Half an hour later, Xiao Chun and the hypnotist appeared at Tianli's company, and Tianli naturally welcomed them warmly in the guest room. Mr. Lang, you're the best, bringing in such a huge profit in just a few days. Tianli wasn't someone who hadn't seen a lot of money before. But to be able to earn so much in just a few days, this speed was not to be underestimated. Haha, it's nothing, it's nothing. If it weren't for Mr. Lu's support, I wouldn't be able to earn this much. Xiaochun waved his hand with a smile. But it's not impossible for us to continue investing. Yes, Mr. Lu, the more you invest, the greater the return. For example, Mr. Lu, if you invest a few $100 million, the return will be even greater. Cui Mianshi seized the opportunity. That's right, then let's invest $500 million. Let's hope we can earn more. Tianli didn't know what was going on, but he suddenly felt a strong urge to invest. He didn't even think about it. That works too. Then let's sign another contract and continue this business. Xiaochun said. Alright, no problem. I'll start raising the money in the next 2 days. Tianli's company didn't earn much after becoming the agent of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but the cash flow was still very strong. When Lin Yi treated Jinhu, it was a bit hard for House Lu to gather 100 million, but now 500 million wasn't a problem at all. Although most of it was from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, they could still use it once in a while. After all, Lin Yi trusted House Lu a lot. He never checked the accounts before, so Tianli still had a lot of room to maneuver. The contract is still the same as last time, just changing the numbers, Cui Mianshi said as he took out a contract from his bag and passed it to Tianli. Tianli nodded and looked at the contract. It was the same as last time, but the investment amount wasn't confirmed yet. No problem. I'll sign it now and help you raise the money. Tianli nodded and looked at the contract briefly. Since they had worked together many times, Tianli didn't suspect anything and signed the contract right away. In the next few days, Tianli started to raise money for Xiaochun. He used the money from the company to buy the medicine for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and some of the money from the customers, and transferred it to Mr. Lang's account. With cigarettes, Tianli's life in the future would be very comfortable. He would smoke every day, fantasizing that the 500 million would turn into 1 billion. Who would doubt his ability to expand if that happened? However, in less than 2 days, Xiaochun called him again. Mr. Lu, it's me, Xiaochun said. Mr. Lang, what's up? How's the organization of our goods? Tianli asked. The goods are pretty much organized, but there's something else I want to discuss with you. We're going to do it. How about a big one? Xiaochun asked. A big one? What do you mean? How did you make it big? Tianli paused. How about this? I'll go with Lil Cui, and we'll talk about it at your company. Xiaochun said. All right, I'll wait for Mr. Lang's arrival at the company, Tianli said quickly. Chapter 2842. Mr. Lang, what's the plan? Tianli asked. I'll let Cui explain it to you. Xiaochun gestured to Cui Mianshi. Today was the day to pull in the net, so for safety's sake, Xiaochun was going to let Cui Mianshi explain. Although, Cui Mianshi had been giving Tianli psychological hints all this time. And with Xiaochun and Tianli building a good relationship with each other with cigarettes, there weren't any flaws that could be exploited. It's like this. Today is the harvest season for that small country, so the price of cigarettes has dropped quite a bit recently. It's around 8,000 yuan per carton. If we use this opportunity to get a lot of them back, even if we can't sell them all at once, we can sell them for a month or so and slowly sell them, and we'll be able to earn more. As Cui Mianshi spoke, he told Tianli the words he had prepared beforehand. Of course, he didn't even need to say much, as he had already used the hypnosis on Tianli's body when he spoke. So you're saying that as long as we invest more money, we can earn more money? Tianli understood what Cui Mianshi meant. That's right. What do you think, Mr. Lu? Our Mr. Lang thinks that it's better to be more stable. Although we can earn more money now, it'll take up a lot of funds. Don't these funds have interest in the bank? Cui Mianshi said this intentionally, but he used hypnosis to hint to Tianli that taking up funds wasn't a problem, as long as they could earn money. I'm familiar with Miracle Dr. Guan's company, so it's fine to transfer the funds to them later. It's fine to hold the funds for a month or so. It's just that it's a little difficult to gather more funds. So I'll have to wait for the goods to be delivered by Miracle Dr. Guan's company this month. I'll sell them in bulk and wait for the agents and distributors to pay me back. It'll take a few days. Tianli wouldn't be so blind if he was doing other business. But he had smoked this cigarette before. He knew how good it was, and there were many rich people like him who felt the same way. Plus, with Cui Mianshir's hypnosis, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was how to raise money. He didn't even think about doubting anything. All right, just do as you see fit, Mr. Liu. It'll be great if this business is done, but don't burden Mr. Liu's company. There's no end to the money, and there'll be opportunities in the future. Xiaochun said, pretending to be generous. Haha, Mr. Lang. Money is definitely not a problem. Since I've agreed, naturally I can get it. Since there's this chance, let's make it big. I'll go prepare now. Tianli didn't say much, rushing to get the money. All right, then I won't bother you anymore. If there's any good news, please share it with me. Xiao Chun also stood up. Then I'll leave now. Please continue with your work, Mr. Liu. With his status as the main supplier of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, funds weren't much of a problem for Tianli. As long as he pressed on both sides, he would be able to raise $1 billion. And so, after sending Miao Lang and Cui Mianshir off, Tianli lit a cigarette and started thinking about how to use the company's funds. Today was the 15th day of the Sky Elixir Sect's test. Only a small number of participants returned to the mountain behind the sect, while most of them stayed here forever. In the Five Evils Savage Land, the corpses of cultivators could be seen at regular intervals. They were all cultivators killed by spirit beasts. Zhao Qikuan, Feng Shiyan, Li Siba, and Gu Xian were all worried. Today was the day they were supposed to leave the 5 fiendish barons, but Lin Yi wasn't back yet. There were still 5 days left, but there was no news for so many days, and there might not be news in the next 5 days. Boss isn't back yet. What should we do? Feng Shiyan looked at Zhao Qikuan. He was the first one to follow Lin Yi, and he knew Lin Yi's personality the best. So when Feng Shiyan asked, Li Siba and Gu Xian looked at Zhao Qikuan as well. Let's wait another 2 days. If boss isn't back in 2 days, we'll go to the teleportation formation and leave this place first. Zhao Qikuan said after some hesitation. He knew Lin Yi's personality very well. If Lin Yi was in trouble, then they'd be a burden to Lin Yi if they stayed here. Plus, there was 5 fiendish qi in the 5 fiendish barons. After 15 days, the qi would invade the practitioner's body, and once it reached 20 days, it would exceed the endurance of a normal practitioner. If they didn't leave soon, the qi would cause them to lose consciousness, or even go crazy. And so there was no point in waiting here. If they were infected by the 5 fiendish qi, then Lin Yi would have to think of a way to save them. So they might as well leave first. That's not good, is it? Without boss, we'd be in danger. We might even die here. Li Siba respected Lin Yi the most. Lin Yi had avenged his sect members. If it weren't for Lin Yi being his boss, Li Siba would have seen Naipeo as an enemy. He was different from other people. Even if Naipeo didn't kill him, he wouldn't let him stay in a safe place. Siba, you've misunderstood me. Boss means what he says. If we keep waiting here, the qi will invade our bodies, and it'll be even more troublesome for him to save us. Boss is strong, and if he can't handle it, then we can't either. Boss told us to leave when the test ends, and that's today. We'll wait for 2 more days. If boss doesn't come back by then we'll leave first. Qikuan explained. All right. Feng Shiyan understood what Qikuan meant. He nodded and said to Siba, Brother Qikuan is right. Boss is strong, and we won't be of much help here. We might drag him down instead. Chapter 2843. I've observed it for a while. Spirit beasts are less active at night. If I'm not wrong, the 5 evils qi is more concentrated here at night, which is good for spirit beasts to cultivate. Therefore, they rarely move around at night. Even if they see human cultivators, as long as they don't provoke them, there shouldn't be a problem. Gu Xian was an observant. It was impossible to sell information in the ancient world without good observations. he would notice a lot of things that others wouldn't. He'd been observing the spirit beast's movements for the past few days, and he'd come up with this pattern. But it's not like this for the entire night. It's just that between 2 to 4 in the morning, there's no spirit beast in front of the safe area. Oh, is that so? Feng Shipian was overjoyed. Guxian, you're really well informed. You've even noticed this pattern? Normal practitioners wouldn't be able to notice the pattern of the spirit beast's movements under such a stressful situation. Even the Sky Elixir sect didn't know. After all, no one could predict the pattern of the spirit beast's movements. Before the spirit beasts went berserk, there was no pattern to their action. They'd train when they wanted, rest when they wanted, attack when they wanted. But now, it was different. They'd go berserk every day to search for practitioners, but they couldn't go berserk for 24 hours. They had to rest and train. And this time was between 2 to 4 in the morning, as Guxian had discovered. I'm ashamed. I only confirmed it last night. After all, I wasn't sure about my guess before. Guxian spread her hands and said, with our speed, we should be able to reach the teleportation array in 2 hours. After all, this place is not far from the teleportation array, so we don't need to leave 3 days in advance. We can leave 2 days in advance and wait for another day. All right, we'll wait 3 days then. Qikuan nodded. Let's confirm the pattern again. Below the cliffs of the Five Fiends mountain range, Linny had been fishing and grilling for Chi-Chi these days. He'd given up on finding a way out. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was getting quieter and quieter, especially as the end of the test drew nearer. Linny, today's the 15th day of the test. Do you think we can't get out? Chi-Chi took the fish from Linny and put it into her mouth mechanically. Even if we can't get out, isn't it good to live here? Linny explained with a smile. In fact, Linny was also very anxious, but there was no use in being anxious when there was no other way. Haha, don't try to comfort me. We'll all die if we stay here for more than 20 days. Chi-Chi smiled bitterly. I don't have much experience in society, and I'm a little dumb, but I know that the rules are real. Linny smiled. I don't have much experience in society, and I'm a little dumb, but I know that the rules are real. Linny's heart sank as well. The Five Fiends Chi wasn't a problem for Linny, but it wasn't for Chi-Chi. Without a choice, Linny entered the jade space. Oi, I say, Senior Ghost, do you have any good ideas for me to get out of here? Linny got straight to the point. The thing stayed in the corner, not answering Linny. Oi, I know you're still awake. Answer me now, or you won't be able to train if I die here. This jade space is bound to me, and if I die, the jade space might disappear. Linny threatened. You won't die. The Five Fiends Chi here isn't harmful to you. In fact, it's useful. The Five Fiends Chi isn't as pure as the energy in the jade space, but you can still use it for training. The thing finally spoke. Can't you just disturb me? It's very hard for me to go into hibernation. That's not for sure. What if the Five Fiends Chi enters my body? There are always accidents. And even if there aren't any accidents, there's no point in me living here alone. I might even kill myself. Linny threatened. Oh, if you really don't want to live, I can't do anything about it. Then I'll leave the space of the jade pendant. I've said it before, although the Five Evils Chi here is not as pure as in your space, I can still cultivate. The ghostly thing said unhurriedly. Think carefully before you die. Okay, I'm begging you. Is there any way for me to get out? Linny saw that his threats didn't work, so he could only coax and pester it. There's really no way. The thing shook its head. How about you call a flying spirit beast, and I'll communicate with it to see if it can take you up. Linny was speechless. Where can I call it? There's no spirit beast around here? Then there's nothing I can do. I'll continue to go into hibernation. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. The thing said to Linny and disappeared. Jiao Lao. Linny looked at Jiao Yazi. There's nothing I can do, but you should practice more. When you become a heavenly path master, maybe my memory will recover, and I can call a flying saucer. Maybe then I can take you up. Jiao Yazi said. Heavenly path flying saucer. Lin Yi's face was dark as he returned to reality. What are you doing? Chi-Chi had been bored out of her mind these past couple of days. She looked at Lin Yi sitting there like an idiot. Are you practicing? No. Lin Yi shook his head. I'm trying to think of a way to get out. Then have you thought of a way? Chi-Chi asked. Not yet. Lin Yi shook his head and handed the fish to Chi-Chi. Here, the last one. It's done. Eat it. Oh. Chi-Chi took the fish and started eating. After that, she sat on the ground and looked around, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, she saw the bones she'd eaten before and started arranging them on the ground. Everyone knew how to eat fish, but it really took a lot of effort to arrange all the fish bones in order after eating the fish. The big bones in the middle were easy. As long as they were not damaged, they could be placed there directly. However, the bones on the back and belly of the fish were small and messy, so it was much more difficult to arrange them in order. Chapter 2844. Lin Yi paused as he watched Chi-Chi arrange the bones. He fell into his memories. Back when he was young, his Shifu had given him a question like this to train his memory and observation skills. After eating the fish, they'd have to put the bones back, and it was a test every year. But all of this was etched into the depths of Lin Yi's memories that would last forever. His master had left, and Lin Yi didn't know where he went. Lin Yi didn't go back to the fish bones, either, because he didn't need to train his memory and observation skills like this anymore. And also because he was slowly stepping onto the path of a practitioner, leaving behind his days as an assassin. Looking at all of this, Lin Yi was filled with emotions as he stared at Chi-Chi, as if he was back in his childhood. Lin Yi wasn't surprised that Chi-Chi knew how to put the bones back together. Chi-Chi came from that assassin organization after all, and this kind of training should be common. It was just that Chi-Chi was a little rusty, and it seemed like she hadn't done it in years. Chi-Chi focused on putting the bones back together. And it wasn't just Lin Yi. Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood as well. People would always reminisce when they were in despair. It was normal, and Chi-Chi was the same. Before she knew it, half an hour had passed. In the past, Chi-Chi only needed a few minutes to put a set of bones together. But it was different. Sometimes she needed half a day to think about it. Chi-Chi picked up a bone, put it back down and picked it up again. She wasn't sure what to do. This was a similar bone. There was a fish's back and belly, and the length and thickness were about the same. Chi-Chi frowned and started thinking. After a while, Chi-Chi finally put her hand down and put the bone back on the belly. This is the bone on the fish's back. I've told you the difference so many times. How come you don't remember? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched Chi-Chi's actions, but something wasn't right. The person in front of him was young Chi-Chi, not his childhood playmate and team member, Yang Xiaoxiao. Once upon a time, his Shifu's daughter, Yang Xiaoxiao, would always get this bone wrong. And so Lin Yi would always correct her, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Ah! Chi-Chi paused, her eyes blurry as she raised her head. It was only then that she realized it was Lin Yi. At that moment, she even thought that Lin Yi was that person. What did you just say? Nothing. I said you spelled it wrong. This fish bone should be placed here. Lin Yi said as he pointed at the back of the fish. How did you know? Chi-Chi was a little puzzled, but she was lost in her memories and didn't hear what Lin Yi was saying. Or maybe she was hallucinating. I've done it before, Lin Yi said. Oh, thanks. Chi-Chi put the bone back on the back of the fish. I didn't think that you'd do something so boring. Boring, huh? Lin Yi was considering if he should tell her that he was from that assassin organization as well. He and Chi-Chi weren't that close before, but after so many encounters, they'd been through thick and thin together. Lin Yi wasn't worried about Chi-Chi's character at all. This girl might be a bit of a bitch, but she wasn't a blabbermouth. Plus, Lin Yi was planning on going to the island where he trained after this test was over. He wanted to see Xiao Qi and Xiao Jiu, but Lin Yi wasn't sure if he'd be able to get out of this test, and he was a little troubled. He wasn't in the mood to talk about these things right now. Fish bones can train one's memory and observation skills. You've been an assassin before? Chi-Chi paused. Every practitioner is an assassin. In the world of practitioners, today's friend is tomorrow's enemy. If you don't have sharp instincts, you won't even know how you died. Linny smiled. Just like sometimes, when you're kind enough to save someone, that person turns around and tries to kill you. Linny, stop saying stuff like that. I told you I wouldn't kill you. Chi-Chi's face was red, embarrassed. I was just giving an example. I wasn't talking about you. Linny said innocently. That's not what I said. Chi-Chi denied. Haha. Linny laughed. What are you laughing at? Chi-Chi asked. Nothing. I think you look like a friend of mine. Linny was telling the truth. In that moment, Linny had a feeling that Chi-Chi was his childhood playmate, young Xiao Xiao. It was just a feeling. After all, it had been so many years. Linny couldn't remember what Xiao Xiao looked like anymore. The Xiao Xiao now was probably training hard, preparing to inherit her father's position as the king of assassins. There was no way she'd risk her life to enter the world of practitioners for some test. The two shared the same surname, but this generation of disciples were mostly orphans. They all took on their master's surname. It wasn't strange at all. What a lame excuse. Chi-Chi rolled her eyes at Linny. How's this pickup? I know you from the start, alright? Linny was a little speechless. I'm just telling the truth. You don't think I'm going after you, do you? That's hard to say. There's only the two of us here. If we really can't get out, who would you go after if not me? There aren't even any spirit beasts here. Chi-Chi was joking. After all, this place was too boring, and she'd accepted Linny in her heart. Her hostility towards Linny was gone. Haha, if we really can't get out, I'll think about it. Linny said. No, I already have a prince on a white horse in my heart. I'd rather die than submit. Chi-Chi said. Then haven't you heard of forcing yourself on someone? Linny asked. If you're not afraid that I'll kill you, do what you want. Chi-Chi said. Haha. Linny chuckled and looked at the sky. It was already nighttime. Let's get some rest, I need to train. Okay. Chi-Chi didn't hesitate and laid down on the ground, getting ready to sleep. She wasn't on guard against Linny at all. With Linny's strength, there was no way she could defend against him if he wanted to. It was just like what Linny said. She could force herself on him. Chapter 2845. Although on the 16th day, the cultivators who remained in the training ground did not directly fall unconscious or suffer from qi deviation, they all showed varying degrees of weakness and dizziness. These were signs that the five evils' qi had entered their bodies. They had to leave the five evils' savage land as soon as possible before the 20th day. After leaving, the five evils' qi in their bodies would slowly dissipate. Once the 20th day passed, they would fall unconscious or suffer from qi deviation, and the five evils' qi in their bodies would not automatically dissipate. Qikuan and the other three were all experiencing these two situations. Qikuan and Li Siba were sky class, so they weren't as bad as this. Qikuan had it the worst, followed by Guxian. Qikuan, if we really can't do it, let's just leave tonight. I see that your situation is the worst, and I'm afraid that you won't be able to hold on. If something really happens to you, boss will be very worried. Shipian said. Let's hold on for another day. I can still do it. But if boss doesn't come back tomorrow, we'll leave. Qikuan said after some hesitation. All right. Shipian nodded. At the bottom of the Five Malice Mountains, Chi-Chi was experiencing the same thing as well. Her situation was even worse than Qikuan's. She was weaker than Qikuan in the first place, and while her level was higher, at Mystic Late Phase Peak, her defense was much weaker than Qikuan's. Plus, this was the mountain range with the densest qi in the Five Malice Barons, or else the Five Malice Dragon wouldn't be able to rule this place. Linny, it's been 15 days, and today is the 16th. I'm feeling a little dizzy, and I don't have any strength. Did the Five Malice qi enter my body? Chi-Chi's spirit was clearly a lot weaker. Should be, but don't worry, there's always a way out. Who knows, there might be other ways. Linny said as he stood up. I'll go catch some small fishes for you to replenish your strength. Although Linny didn't ask if Chi-Chi was young Xiao Xiao, Linny knew that she was here to get medicine for little Gio, so he was very concerned about her. Thank you. Chi-Chi smiled, suddenly thinking that it would be nice to have Lin Yi by her side before she died. She'd thought that Lin Yi was a pervert, but now it seemed that Lin Yi wasn't like that at all. He was a good person. If her heart had not been occupied by another person, perhaps she would have fallen in love with him. At that thought, all the good things about Lin Yi popped up in Chi-Chi's mind. He carried Xiao Xiao to the ice palace for the test, going through all that trouble just to get medicine for his girlfriend. How touching was that? And he had helped her time and time again, without asking for anything in return. No wonder that Xiaoka girl liked him so much. He really had a lot of good points. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi was back from fishing. He went fishing every day, and Lin Yi was familiar with the routine. He started grilling fish for Chi-Chi as soon as he got back. Thank you. Chi-Chi didn't know how else to express her feelings other than thanking him. She took the fish and started eating. But today, Chi-Chi clearly didn't have the energy she had yesterday. She laid on the side to rest after eating the fish, feeling dizzy. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was eating the fish bones out of boredom. Even if Lin Yi was in a hurry, there was nothing he could do. He wasn't Zhang Naipeo, and he couldn't absorb the 5 malice chi from Chi-Chi's body. Chi-Chi wasn't a spiritual practitioner, either, and he couldn't help her refine or expel the 5 malice chi from her body. That damn thing was right. The chi of 5's wrath didn't harm Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi was no different from when he'd first entered the training grounds, full of energy. At the back mountain of the Sky Elixir sect, Zhao Qikuan, Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian successfully made it to the portal according to Gu Xian's deductions. They came back safely, and a Sky Elixir sect disciple came up to check them. You 4. Please go to the 8th elder to hand over the medicine and register your name. Kong Ming looked at the 4, and his heart jumped when he saw Qikuan. Wasn't this Lin Yi's follower? Why was he out? But Lin Yi didn't come out. Could it be that Zhang Naipeo killed him? At the thought, Kong Ming felt refreshed. It seemed that putting his hopes on Zhang Naipeo was the right decision. Otherwise, why wouldn't Lin Yi come out? It was already the 17th day of the test, and even Lin Yi's follower had come out. There was no reason for Lin Yi not to come out. But Kong Ming was puzzled. Why wasn't Zhang Naipeo out? Could it be that he died with Lin Yi? But he didn't care about Naipeo's life. If he died, then so be it. Feng Shipian, from the ancient house Feng, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Li Siba, from the ancient godly fist palace, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Gu Xian Freelancer, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Zhao Qikuan, from the hidden house Zhao, successfully obtained 1 medicine. The first 3 had gotten the medicine and passed the test without a problem, but Zhao Qikuan, a mystic who was hiding his strength, had passed as well. It was a mystery. So far, he was the first person to pass the test with such a low level of strength. But seeing that the 4 came out together, the Sky Elixir sect people weren't too surprised. Originally, the 4 of them only had 2 spiritual herbs, which were obtained from the 2 disciples of the Dark Knight Palace. However, along the way, they were lucky enough to see 2 cultivators who had been killed by spirit beasts. On their corpses, they found 2 more spiritual herbs, so each of the 4 of them had 1. After registering, the 4 could go back to the Sky Elixir Inn and wait for the final reward. After the 20 days, the reward would be given out. Although there was a large group of Heavenly Elixir sect disciples standing beside the teleportation array, there was actually a simple palace behind them. This was where the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Sky Silkworm Transformation, was temporarily staying. Even Kong Ming didn't think that Sky Silkworm would come out personally. After registering the names of Feng Shipian and the others, Xiaolong hurried to Sky Silkworm's palace and knocked carefully. "Young master, it's me, Ming." Chapter 2846. Yes, young sect master. Little Peach quickly opened the door for Kong Ming. Kong Ming followed Little Peach into Sky Silkworm Transformation's room. "Little Ming, it's past 4 in the morning. Why are there challengers coming out of the teleportation array?" Sky Silkworm transformation obviously did not rest. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked a little haggard. 4 cultivators successfully passed the trial and brought back the trial elixir. Kong Ming Ming quickly took out the record book and handed it to Sky Silkworm transformation. Young sect master, this is the list of those 4 people. Oh, let me see. Sky Silkworm transformation took the record book from Kong Ming Ming and took a look. After seeing the names on it, his face was a little disappointed. He did not say anything, and no one knew what he was thinking. Kong Ming Ming did not dare to make a sound and waited carefully by the side. It's been 18 days. He still hasn't come out. Sky Silkworm transformation muttered to himself and returned the record book to Kong Ming Ming. Young sect master, what did you say? Who didn't come out? Kong Ming Ming did not hear what Sky Silkworm transformation said clearly and asked quickly. Nothing. Sky Silkworm transformation shook his head and said, I'm tired. I need to rest for a while. Little Ming, you can leave first. If anyone comes out, tell me immediately. Yes, young sect master. Kong Ming Ming nodded and smiled. Young sect master, are you tired? I'll give you another massage. With that said, Kong Ming Ming was about to grab Sky Silkworm transformation's shoulders. During this period, he felt that he had become very familiar with Sky Silkworm transformation. He often massaged Sky Silkworm transformation, so he did not need to ask for instructions. Although Sky Silkworm transformation did not seem to be in a good mood today, Kong Ming Ming did not care. Slap. A crisp ear-piercing sound. Before Kong Ming Ming could touch Sky Silkworm transformation's shoulders, Sky Silkworm transformation slapped Kong Ming Ming's face. Ah! Kong Ming Ming was shocked. He covered his cheeks with his hands. The teeth inside had been knocked out. Although it was painful, it also made him feel a little inexplicable. He said vaguely with grievance, Young master, why did you hit Little Ming? Little Peach was also stunned. Wasn't Kong Ming Ming massaging her all this time? Why did he suddenly hit Kong Ming Ming today? What massage? Little Ming, remember your status. Tiankin said angrily. Ah! Kong Ming Ming was dumbfounded. What happened? Could it be that the heavenly silkworm transformation lost its memories? Why was it that he could massage in the past but not today? Not only did he not give her a massage, he even slapped her and said that she was impolite? If he was impolite, why didn't he say so in the past? Why did you only tell me today? Kong Ming Ming was very depressed, but he also understood a principle. Little Peach was right. Being with a king was like being with a tiger. How could he reason with the young master? If he wanted to hit, then hit. Whatever he said, he didn't dare to refute. Yes, young master, I'm sorry. I was impulsive. Kong Ming Ming covered his cheeks and was about to cry. Forget it, you can leave. Sky Silkworm transformation also felt that her reaction was too strong. Looking at Kong Ming Ming's aggrieved expression, Sky Silkworm transformation's heart moved slightly. Could it be that her brother had let him massage her before? Otherwise, with Kong Ming Ming's personality, he wouldn't dare to do such a daring thing. Thinking of this, Sky Silkworm transformation suddenly felt that she had misunderstood Kong Ming Ming. This guy was really unlucky. However, as the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Sky Silkworm transformation's dignity was necessary. At this moment, she didn't have the slightest bit of sympathy. She closed her eyes and let Little Peach take Kong Ming Ming away. After Peach left the room, Sky Silkworm transformation opened her eyes again. What was wrong with her? Why did she care about him so much? Was it because they had fought side by side, and they were friends through thick and thin? Or was it because he was the first man to touch her body? If Linny were here, he'd be able to recognize that Sky Silkworm transformation was the yellow-clothed girl from the test, Tian Chan. She was Sky Silkworm transformation's older sister, and the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect. During the few days she'd been in the test, the position of the young master had been temporarily given to her brother Sky Silkworm transformation. But from the looks of it, it hadn't been very successful. He'd actually let Kong Ming Ming massage him? Tian Chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After she'd passed the test, she'd changed into Sky Silkworm transformation again and moved into the palace. Her goal here was actually to secretly check if Zhang Naipeo had passed the test. Zhang Naipeo was a very important person to the Five Elements sect, and to that plan in the future. That was why Tian Chan had been paying attention to him all this time. But now, Tian Chan seemed to be paying more attention to Lin Yi's news, and Zhang Naipeo's news wasn't that important. If this had been in the past, Tian Chan would have definitely put that plan as her priority. That was her mission, and the mission of the Sky Elixir sect's rise. The Five Elements sect had already promised her that as long as that plan succeeded, all the remaining power of the Five Elements sect would belong to the Sky Elixir sect, and that Sky Elixir sect would become the #1 sect in the world of practitioners. For the dreams of her father and grandpa, Tian Chan had sacrificed herself. But now Tian Chan suddenly felt that it was all so unreal, but she couldn't escape it. Her life was already going according to that plan, and there was no way to change it. Tian Chan touched her chest, her face slightly reddening. There was a special feeling, and that moment of heartbeat was something that she missed. But from now on, she wouldn't have anything to do with Lin Yi anymore. Even if she did, it would be as the young master of the Sky Elixir sect, and not as Tian Chan. At that time, he and I might already be standing on the opposite side of each other. With that thought, Tian Chan was a little dejected. She, in front of him, would never admit that she was Tian Chan again. She had to be strong. Tian Chan had only appeared in the test, and when she returned to the Sky Elixir sect, she had to be a Sky Silkworm transformation cultivator. She had to shoulder this responsibility. Kong Ming Ming and Little Peach went out of the courtyard together. Kong Ming Ming's face was still swollen, but he didn't dare to take the small rejuvenation pill, so he could only bear it. Seeing this, Little Peach felt a little distressed. "Brother Kong, why don't you take a small rejuvenation pill? We have it in the Sky Elixir sect, and you can refine it yourself." "How could I dare to eat the young master's pill?" Kong Ming Ming smiled bitterly and said, "Little Peach, you're right. The young master's temper is unpredictable. I guess he's in a bad mood today, and I'm unlucky." "Yes, Brother Kong, you have to be careful in the future. Otherwise, once you fall out of favor, how can you marry me?" Little Peach was also a little worried. Chapter 2847. NN. Little Peach looked at Kong Ming Ming with misty eyes. "Big Brother Kong, you're so nice." Kong Ming Ming didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly returned to the teleportation array. After all, he was the managing elder here. He chatted with Little Peach for a while and ran back. Tian Chan let her imagination run wild for a while. She didn't expect to hear footsteps at the door of the courtyard. This time, they didn't knock on the door. Instead, they pushed the door open and entered. The door of the courtyard wasn't locked, but ordinary Heavenly Elixir sect disciples and elders didn't dare to push the door open casually. Tian Chan quickly opened her eyes and stood up to greet them. Those who could enter like this must be important people. Sure enough, the people who came were Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianchen. Tian Chan wasn't unfamiliar with Patriarch Xianzhen, but Tian Chan wasn't very familiar with Patriarch Xianchen. At this time, Patriarch Xuanchen's sudden appearance made her heart tighten slightly. Only a few people knew about her relationship with Patriarch Xianzhen. This matter had always been hidden from Patriarch Xianzhen. Of course, Tian Chan didn't know that when she went to participate in the trial, Patriarch Xianchen had already pointed out to Patriarch Xianzhen that he knew that Tian Chan was Patriarch Xianzhen's disciple. He also knew about Patriarch Xianzhen's connections in Heavenly Elixir sect. Tian Chan and Tian Huan usually listened to Patriarch Xianchen on the surface, but secretly, they still respected Patriarch Xianzhen as their master. However, some things could only be hidden. Otherwise, not only would she and her brother Tian Huan be unlucky, but Patriarch Xianzhen would also be unlucky. Tian Chan greets Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianchen. Tian Chan carefully bowed and greeted. Tian Chan called them Master and Uncle Master. Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand. He thought that some things were done secretly, but he didn't expect that it couldn't be hidden from Patriarch Xianchen. Therefore, There was no need to hide the master-disciple relationship between him and Tianchan. Yes. Tianchan was shocked. As expected, Patriarch Xianchen knew about it. However, she was the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect after all. She bowed again calmly and said, "Greetings, master and martial uncle. Don't stand on ceremony." Ancestor Xianchen didn't dwell on this matter anymore and waved his hand. He was currently the temporary leader of the Five Elements sect. So although Tianchan was Ancestor Xuanzhen's disciple, Xuanzhen's words had the most weight. "Sit down. I have already brought the Five Elements sect's ancestral physique test ball. Place your hand on it and check if the inheritance is successful." In Patriarch Xuanzhen's eyes, Tianchan was merely a chess piece. His standard for judging others was whether they were useful to him. If they were useless, he would kick them away. Yes, Tianchan sat on the floor of the living room as instructed. Patriarch Xianchen took out a box and took out a round bead from it. He placed it in front of Tianchan and said, "It's not your first time taking the test. Try it again." "Yes." Tianchan quickly reached out and placed her hand on the physique test ball. In an instant, 5 lights appeared on the bead. 4 of the lights were particularly bright, but one of the lights was a little dim. The middle of the light was hollow. If Lenny was here, he would definitely be very surprised that the Five Elements sect actually had such a bead to test physique. As for Tianchan, she really had 4 real attributes and 1 virtual attribute. What? She actually didn't accept the inheritance of the origin power. And she even has 4 real attributes? Patriarch Xuanzhen's expression suddenly changed, and Tianchan was also shocked at this moment. Her own inheritance of the origin power actually failed? "Tianchan, didn't you say that you've already set up the 5 evils origin power in the 5 evils mountain range in the cave?" Patriarch Xuanzhen's expression was also solemn. He quickly asked, "This time, the preparations were so appropriate, and you also took the bone and marrow cleansing pill. How did you fail?" "Yes, could it be that something else happened when you accepted the inheritance?" Patriarch Xianchen asked. Tianchan was shocked. She subconsciously thought of Lin Yi, but if she told the truth, she was afraid that even if this matter had nothing to do with Lin Yi, with Patriarch Xuanzhen's personality, he would most likely vent his anger on Lin Yi. Although he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi because of Boss Bai, it was still possible that he would secretly do something bad. "What's wrong? Did something really happen?" Patriarch Xianchen raised his eyebrows and asked. "After I finished the preliminary preparations, I was about to accept the inheritance, but the 5 evils dragon came back." Tianchan hesitated for a moment and said, "What? After you finished the preparations, the 5 evils dragon came back?" Patriarch Xianchen was slightly stunned. He frowned and said, "That shouldn't be. Logically speaking, with so many earth rank and above cultivators entering the 5 evils savage land at once, the 5 evils dragon would definitely be alarmed, and he would be lured out of the cave. He would then make some arrangements for all the spirit beasts in the 5 evils savage land, and give orders to fight against these earth rank cultivators together. How could the 5 evils dragon return so quickly?" It turned out that this time, the change in the rules of the Heavenly Elixir sect's trial was caused by Patriarch Xianchen of the 5 Elements sect. Everything was to allow Tianchan to smoothly accept the inheritance. The 5 evils savage land was the territory of the spirit beasts. If human cultivators entered, they would naturally be regarded as enemies. However, after thousands of years of testing by the Heavenly Elixir sect, they discovered that cultivators below the earth rank were the limit that the spirit beasts could accept. Although it was dangerous for cultivators of the yellow rank and the profound rank to enter the 5 evils savage land to take the trial elixir, it was only because they accidentally encountered the spirit beasts. They would not let the spirit beasts chase and attack them. In other words, the spirit beasts in the 5 evils savage land looked down on cultivators of this level. Although they did not welcome their arrival, they would not mobilize a large force to chase and kill them. However, once the cultivators who entered the 5 evils savage land were above the earth rank, then these cultivators would be regarded as invaders. The five evils dragon would then be lured out to give orders to all the spirit beasts in the five evils savage land to kill these cultivators together to protect their territory from the invasion of human cultivators. This time, in order to lure the five evils dragon out of the cave to give orders, Patriarch Xianxun did not hesitate to sacrifice the lives of so many cultivators above the earth rank. It was enough to show that he was a cruel and merciless person. It was not an exaggeration to have a vicious daughter like Little 11. Even his daughter was not as vicious as him. Chapter 28:48. After the sound-type flying spirit beast flew into the sky, it released sound waves to transmit the command of the dragon of five evils. When other sound-type flying spirit beasts heard it, they would also spread out at the same time. Therefore, it did not take long for all the spirit beasts in the entire savage land of five evils to receive the command of the dragon of five evils and began to chase after cultivators. This was also the reason why cultivators were lying dead in the wilderness. Of course, spiritual beasts also had spiritual intelligence. In order to intimidate human cultivators, the dragon of five evils would kill cultivators on a regular basis. Every day, it would only kill 2 cultivators above earth rank as a warning. Every time a spirit beast killed a cultivator above the earth stage, the nearby flying spirit beasts that were good at transmitting sound waves would fly into the sky and spread the news with sound waves. After the 2 cultivators were killed, all the spirit beasts stopped killing cultivators above the earth stage. Instead, they started to chase and threaten them. At 2 o'clock every night, they would all go to bed together. Gu Xian did not understand the language of the spirit beasts, so he did not discover this pattern. However, he discovered the pattern of the spirit beasts' rest after that. In fact, this pattern was also the result of many years of exploration by the Heavenly Elixir sect. This was also the reason why the number of people was estimated in the beginning. I'm not sure either. When I was ready to accept the inheritance of the origin energy, the dragon of five evils suddenly returned. Then, I exchanged a few blows with it, and the inheritance began. Tianchan said. After that, I was in a very mysterious state, and the dragon of five evils was the same. The 2 of us were in harmony, and we did not attack each other again. In that case, the dragon of five evils must have swallowed the origin energy. If the human cultivators did not successfully accept the inheritance of the origin energy, then the dragon of five evils would definitely swallow this power. Spirit beasts are different from humans. As long as no one fights with it, it will absorb the origin energy. Patriarch Xianxun nodded his head in disappointment and said, "Did the dragon of five evils fall asleep after accepting the origin energy? Then you left?" This, Tianchan was slightly stunned. Would the dragon of five evils fall asleep after successfully accepting the origin energy? She wasn't sure, but it made sense that she could leave safely. Otherwise, how could she leave safely in the cave of the five evils dragon? She did not want to tell Gu Shizhou about Lin Yi, which gave her an excuse. I left after that, but the dragon of five evils didn't chase after me, so I'm not sure if it had fallen asleep. Forget it. None of this is important. You didn't succeed in accepting the inheritance. Patriarch Black Earth frowned. At this moment, Tianchan was no longer as important to him. He had lost his use as a spy. The Five Devils Mountain Range's origin energy could only be activated once every 500 years. This time, Patriarch Xianxun had calculated the time accurately and used the name of the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial to let Tianchan accept the inheritance of the origin energy. After another 500 years, it was uncertain what would happen. Even if Tianchan was an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, it was uncertain whether she would still be alive after 500 years. If Patriarch Xianxun did not step into the Heavenly Tao in these 100 years, he might die. Therefore, Tianchan was of no use at all. But at this moment, Mingzi was crippled by Lin Yi and could not be used for the time being. This made Patriarch Xianxun a little crazy. The 2 most important chess pieces, that he had cultivated, could not be used. Could it be that all these years of hard work were going to be wasted? He could not accept it. In his heart, he hated Lin Yi to the core. He wanted to strangle Lin Yi, peel off Lin Yi's skin, and drink his blood. Of course, he did not know that it was Lin Yi who had stolen Tian Chan's origin energy inheritance. If he knew, he would probably be so angry that he would directly attack the five evil savage land. But even so, he secretly decided in his heart to kill Lin Yi. After Boss Bai lost his use, he would kill both of them together. Tian Chan, you don't have to be too sad. Things like origin energy inheritance are originally up to fate. We can't do anything about it. You don't have to be too sad. Patriarch Xianxin looked at Tian Chan's disappointed expression and comforted her. In her heart, Tian Chan did not know whether she should be happy or sad. She was happy that she did not need to be used as a chess piece to be sacrificed. After that plan failed, she did not need to pretend to be a heavenly silkworm transformation anymore. She did not need to use the excuse of marrying a concubine. She could restore her identity as Tian Chan. In the past, Tian Chan did not care much about whether she was a man or a woman. Whether it was a man or a woman, she was the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect. As long as she could develop the Heavenly Elixir sect, it was fine. But now, she hoped that she was a girl. This psychological change changed overnight. After returning from the Heavenly Elixir sect's trial, Tian Chan's thought became stronger and stronger. Of course, reason told her that now was not the time. Even if she did not accept the inheritance, it would not work. As long as Tagonlong was not dead, there was still hope. She had to maintain the lie that she was a heavenly silkworm transformation man. She also had to maintain the lie that she was a pervert who wanted to marry a concubine. The sad thing was that Tian Chan did not know where her future was. Even if she restored her identity as Tian Chan, so what? If that plan failed, the Heavenly Elixir sect would still be a subsidiary of the Five Elements sect. Even if Patriarch Xianxin died, his disciple would still inherit his will and work hard for that goal. The Heavenly Elixir sect would still fully support her. I'm sorry, but I will continue to practice alchemy. Tian Chan sighed and said, after so many years, it seems that practicing alchemy won't work. You have the inheritance of the origin, and it is different from the inheritor's comprehension inheritance. There is a fundamental difference between the two. You cannot obtain the inheritance of the origin of the wood element from the herbs, and comprehension inheritance has no effect on you. Patriarch Xianxin waved his hand. In your body, there are 4 true elements that form a cycle. The only thing you lack is the wood element. I used the Wanyan Spring Elixir to make up for the wood element, and I used the Bone Washing Elixir to purify the wood element. Even so, you still haven't accepted the wood element inheritance of the 5 evils origin. It seems that it is fate. Among the 5 elements and 7 elements, 6 of them had the source of inheritance. Only the wood element did not. The legendary Wanyan Spring Forest was gone, and even the Wanyan Spring Wood was extinct. So if one wanted to become the inheritor of the wood element, they had to start with another alternative method. This was the result of Patriarch Zhang's years of research. Coming into contact with herbs every day, it was possible to comprehend the wood element inheritance. Chapter 2849. This was like an epiphany. After the epiphany, there would no longer be a barrier to leveling up. As for the origin energy, it was received from the source of the origin energy. This could not be obtained from herbs. It seems like we can only find another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Or, we can create another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Patriarch Xianzhen was also a little disappointed, although he felt that it was very dangerous for Tian Chan to do that, and he did not want his disciple to take the risk. He still chose to agree for the sake of the sect's grand plan. Now, Tian Chan could not continue to be the most important part of the plan. He felt a little melancholy. After all, she was the hope of the sect. How hard is it to find a cultivator with all 5 attributes? It took a lot of effort to find Tagon Dragon, and it is not easy to create another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Patriarch Xianxin said. Unless we find a cultivator with all 3 attributes of wood, metal, and earth. Patriarch Xianzhen was a little silent after hearing Patriarch Xuanqin's words. Yes, how difficult was it to find a cultivator with all 3 attributes? After Tian Chan opened the inheritance of the 5 evils origin energy, there was no place to receive the inheritance of the origin energy for the time being. Therefore, one had to have the true attribute of wood. There was no way to create a virtual attribute for the metal and earth attributes through elixirs. Although there were elixir recipes for the 2 types of elixirs that could change one's physique, some of the ingredients were extinct and could not be refined at all. Therefore, one had to also have the metal and earth attributes. As for the other water and fire attributes, one could create virtual attributes, and then go to the source of these 2 attributes to receive the inheritance. The elixir materials for the water attribute had also been lost, but they could be replaced by the Ice Heart Jade Bone elixir. They could go to the Ice Palace to receive the inheritance of the ice origin energy in place of the water attribute. As for the fire attribute, they needed to go to the Blazing Mountain in the Hakanamata Desert to receive the inheritance of the origin energy. However, although triple elemental cultivators were not as rare as quadruple elemental and quintuple elemental cultivators, there were very few cultivators with these 3 elemental attributes. Patriarch Xianxin had yet to discover them. Otherwise, Tian Chan would not be the only spy. Given Patriarch Xuanqin's character, he would definitely create a few more spies to be used at any time. Mystic True Patriarch sighed and said, Sigh, I'd better research how to cure the Tagan dragon. Yes, I'll have to trouble second senior brother with this matter. Patriarch Xianxin said hurriedly. Xianzhen ancestor waved his hand and said, However, you should also pay attention to the cultivators of these 3 elements. Otherwise, this plan will be difficult to carry out. Of course. The elder nodded and looked at Tian Chan. Right, where's Zhang Naipeo? He has successfully passed the trial and is out, right? Not yet. Tian Chan shook her head. I wanted to report this to Master and Uncle as well. I followed Master's orders and reverted to my silkworm form, waiting for Zhang Naipeo here. But he still hasn't come out. What? Zhang Naipeo still hasn't come out? The elder was shocked. Although he had been suppressing the everyday sect all these years, he didn't want them to grow too big. The 5 Elements sect wanted to stabilize their position as the leader of the training world, not to kill them all. Zhang Naipeo was the most important part of the plan. And this was also why the elder asked Tian Chan to instruct Kong Mingming to take care of Zhang Naipeo. No one wanted anything to happen to Zhang Naipeo, although Zhang Naipeo could be replaced in other ways. Without him, the danger of the inheritor would increase greatly, so it was best for Zhang Naipeo to be safe. Yes, Elder 8 Kong Mingming just reported to me the list of cultivators who passed the trial. Tian Chan shook her head. It's been 18 days. I hope nothing goes wrong. The elder sighed and said, Tian Chan, if there's news of Zhang Naipeo, let us know at any time. Yes, uncle. Tian Chan said carefully. The 2 elders didn't stay for long and went to rest somewhere else. Tian Chan, on the other hand, was waiting anxiously for Kong Mingming's news 5 Fiends Mountain Range. Skybolt Pig waited for 15 days, and on the 18th day, there was still no one coming. He started to panic. The 5 Fiends dragon didn't bother with Pig, but the pig was still restless. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore, and decided to go down the mountain. These days, he had seen the 5 Fiends dragon giving orders to the spirit beasts in the 5 Fiends Barrens. This gave him a good idea. If he could find a golden-class flying spirit beast, he could order it to save Lin Yi as a mystic late-phase peak spirit beast. Wouldn't that work? And so, once the pig made up his mind, he didn't waste any time, and came to the bottom of the 5 Fiends Mountain Range. Finally, after running for half a day, he found a flying-type yellow-class spirit beast. He quickly called out to it. Gigi. Gugu. The flying spirit beast said. Gigi. Skybolt Pig said. Gugu. The flying spirit beast said. Gigi. The Sky Thunder Pig was a little disappointed. The Five Demons Dragon was a spirit beast at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. It was very close to the heavenly Tao. Unless he was a heavenly Tao spirit beast, he wouldn't be able to command this flying type spirit beast. Gugu. The flying spirit beast said. Gigi. Skybolt Pig was helpless. It seemed like his thinking was too simple. The spirit beasts here were all following the orders of the Five Fiends Dragon. They wouldn't listen to him at all. He could only go to a safe place and discuss with Zhao Qikuan and the others. He wanted to see if there was a way to save Linny. Linny hadn't come back after so many days, and Skybolt Pig was very worried. Chapter 2850. The pig had no choice but to return to the Five Fiends Mountains. Chi-Chi was getting weaker and weaker these days, her face pale and pale. Other than when she ate, she spent most of her time lying on the ground. Linny saw this and panicked, but there was nothing he could do. Today was the 20th day. If they couldn't leave by then, Chi-Chi. Linny didn't even dare think about it. Chi-Chi, what do you think? Are you hungry? Linny had been chatting with Chi-Chi since early in the morning, but it was Linny who talked the most, and Chi-Chi who didn't respond at all. She was simply too weak right now, and didn't have the strength to talk anymore. Hungry? I think so, but I don't want to eat grilled fish anymore. It's too dry. I want to eat something else. Chi-Chi said weakly. You don't want to eat, but there's only grilled fish here. Truth be told, Linny was getting sick of the food he'd been eating for the past couple of days. He didn't eat much, but he was a spiritual practitioner, and had the jade to replenish his energy. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, couldn't rely on Chi to replenish her energy. She could only rely on food. Then I won't eat anymore. Chi-Chi closed her eyes with that. Alright, I'll go look into other ways to keep the water in the fish, Linny said after some thought. Thank you. Chi-Chi was very touched. Lin Yi's meticulous care these days. Chi-Chi's impression of Lin Yi had increased quite a bit. It wasn't the romantic type, but she saw Lin Yi as her closest friend. Haha, it's fine. Lin Yi got up and went fishing, thinking about how to keep the water in the fish. There was no pot here, and there wasn't a hole for a pot. Even Tian Chan wouldn't be able to make a hole in the hard ground like this, let alone Lin Yi. And so, Lin Yi automatically eliminated the idea of cooking the fish. He had to think of other ways. Suddenly, Lin Yi's eyes stopped at the lake not far away. The soil around the lake was soil, but it was close to the lakeside. Lin Yi couldn't dig a hole here, and he couldn't use his refinement fire to heat up the entire lake. But he remembered an island survival training he'd received when he was young. He'd used soil to wrap an entire fish, roasted it with fire, and then peeled the soil away to reveal that the fish was fresh and tender. It wasn't burnt at all, and all the moisture was retained. This was the inspiration Lin Yi got from the beggar's chicken. Back on the island, Lin Yi made this type of fish, and Lin Yi decided to go back to making it for Chi-Chi. After catching the fish, Lin Yi cleaned it up by the lakeside and dug out some mud from the lake, wrapping the fish in it before roasting it. Half an hour later, Lin Yi came back to the place he was resting with Chi-Chi with a pile of mud. Chi-Chi, get up and eat. Lin Yi put the mud balls on the ground. What's this? What's this? Chi-Chi looked at the mud balls Lin Yi had thrown on the ground. She didn't know what was edible about them. This is called mudfish. You break the hard shell, and the inside is exposed to the fresh meat. You can eat it. The result of grilling it this way is that the water won't dry out. Lin Yi said, You don't want to eat grilled fish anymore, right? Chi-Chi's eyes went wide with disbelief. She stared at the ball of mud on the ground, lost in thought, not saying a word for a while. What's wrong? You've never seen it before? It's actually very tasty. Let me show you. Lin Yi thought that Chi-Chi didn't want to eat it. He picked up a mud ball and broke it, revealing the tender flesh inside. It was delicious, and all the water had been preserved. Here. Lin Yi gave it to Chi-Chi. Yeah. Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood. Back then, her father had given them an island survival test. throwing her and the rest of the team into different locations on different islands. Chi-Chi was very lucky, being thrown onto the same island as her brother IE. Of course, she didn't know if it was her father's doing or not. There was no food or water on the island, much better than this valley. However, IE's brother had used plastic bags to collect the dew on the leaves as drinking water, catching fish in the sea and roasting it for her. After eating it for many days, Chi-Chi didn't really like roasted fish anymore. She told IE that she wanted a change, and IE's brother racked his brains and made her a roasted fish wrapped in mud, fresh and juicy. It was a memory that was fresh in Chi-Chi's mind. What she remembered wasn't just the taste of the roasted fish, but the beautiful memories of IE's brother's love and care for her. Chi-Chi's heart had already fallen in love with him back then. Now at the bottom of the cliff, Chi-Chi was once again looking at this delicacy from her memories. She couldn't help but feel emotional. The people who made it were different, but they were all so caring and protective of her. Young Chi-Chi took a bite of the fish. The taste brought tears to her eyes. It was exactly the same as the one in her memories. In her haze, young Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood, back on that deserted island. Her tears flowed down her cheeks, landing on the fish. But she didn't care as she carefully ate the fish. This fish wasn't just a delicacy. It was a form of longing and attachment. Chi-Chi's crying gave Lenny quite the fright. Even if the mud fish wasn't good, it shouldn't be so bad that she was crying, right? Lenny scratched his head, not knowing what to do. Didn't young Xiao Xiao say that it was delicious when they were kids? Could it be that his skills had deteriorated after all these years? The 5 energies had invaded Chi-Chi's body, making her so weak that she was about to faint. But at this moment, she was very happy. What surprised Lin even more was the fact that this roasted fish wasn't delicious. Why was Chi-Chi eating it so fast? Was it delicious? Then why was she crying? Was she afraid that the 5 energies would invade her body and kill her? Thinking about it, Linny felt that this was most likely the case. He quickly comforted her. Chi-Chi, don't cry. I'm here, we'll be fine. You won't die, don't worry. If you really did die, I wouldn't be able to explain it to Master. Chapter 2851. But in Chi-Chi's ears, that wasn't the case. Many years ago, on a deserted island, someone had said the exact same thing to her while she was eating grilled fish. Chi-Chi was already in a daze from the 5 malevolence chi, and was on the verge of fainting. She was imagining herself back on that deserted island, with Ai Big Bro beside her, grilling fish for her. Ai Big Bro, I believe you. You'll bring Xiaoqi back. Chi-Chi murmured. What? Ling Yi's body froze as if he'd been struck by lightning. He raised his head and stared at Chi-Chi stunned. Chi-Chi's voice was soft, but it was clear in this empty cliff. Ai Big Bro had touched Lin Yi's most sensitive heartstrings. It had been so long since he'd heard those words. But this person in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't believe it. This person in front of him. Could she be his Shifu's daughter, Yang Xiao Xiao? His childhood sweetheart. But wasn't she called Yang Xiao Xiao? Why was she Chi-Chi now? Xiao Xiao, why do you change your name? Lin Yi asked. Xiao Xiao doesn't sound nice. Ai Big Bro, you like to call me Xiao Qi, so I'll call myself Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi was a little confused as well, not sure if she was the little young Xiao Xiao or the grown-up Chi-Chi. Today was the last day of the 20 days. Unless it was a practitioner like Lin Yi, Zhang Naipeo or Tian Chan, they'd be unconscious on the 20th day. Yes, she was Yang Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi didn't doubt it anymore. Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi's pale face. That cool girl who bit the hand that fed her had become loyalty to him in Lin Yi's eyes. And all of Lin Yi's resentment towards her vanished in an instant. Think about it. What was wrong with a girl protecting her chastity for the person she liked? Lin Yi saw her body. It was normal for her to be angry, but Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect things to be so coincidental. That's right, Xiaoqi and Chi-Chi clearly meant the same thing. Why didn't I think of it before? Perhaps his first impression was the strongest, so he didn't think in this direction. Chi-Chi used to be very cute, but she wasn't as cool and pretty as she was now. This was also why Lenny didn't recognize her. It was hard to connect a cute girl with a cool girl. But thinking about it, Chi-Chi had been trained as an assassin for so many years. She'd have no one to rely on after he left, and she still had to take care of little Gio. Of course she'd have to be strong. Therefore, it was reasonable for his personality to change, and his dressing style to change as well. Xiaoqi, don't worry. Big brother Ai won't let anything happen to you. We'll definitely get through this trouble safely. Lenny looked at Chi-Chi and clenched his fist. He took a deep breath and said solemnly. This was Lin Yi's promise. No matter what, he wouldn't let anything happen to Chi-Chi. Fortunately, Chi-Chi was a physical practitioner, and with the 5 malevolence chi in her body, it wouldn't cause her to go berserk. She'd just faint, unlike spiritual practitioners who'd mess up their chi. Looking at the cliff, Lenny fell into deep thought. Lenny had thought of everything he could think of, but there was nothing he could do, outside the test grounds, on the teleportation formation. Kong Ming was about to fall asleep as he stared at it. Ever since Chikuan and the other 3 came out, no one else had come out. It made sense that those who hadn't come out by now wouldn't be able to make it out alive. On the evening of the 20th day, Kong Ming shook his head and got up to report to Silkworm Shapeshifter. No one else had come out of the teleportation formation, but he still had to report to Silkworm Shapeshifter. In actuality, even if Kong Ming hadn't come, Tian-chan would still be worried. Kong Ming's absence meant that no one else had come out of the teleportation formation. Evidently, Lenny hadn't come out, and this made Tian-chan feel uneasy. Why would she care about someone so much? Tian-chan didn't know, but she couldn't help but feel unhappy if she didn't see Lin Yi come out safely. Of course, the Xianxin and Xuanjin elders were worried as well. It had been 20 days, and there was still no news of Naipeo. The 2 came to Silkworm Shapeshifter's palace once more. Tian-chan greets Master Uncle. Tian-chan had something on her mind, but she couldn't be rude. Still no news of Naipeo? The Xianxin elder waved his hand, telling Tian-chan not to be so courteous. Martial uncle, there's no news yet. Tian-chan shook her head. The Xianxin elder didn't think much of her sullen look, thinking that she was worried about Naipeo as well. What's going on? So many people who aren't as strong as him have come out. Why isn't he out yet? The Xianxin elder knew that Tian-chan wouldn't hide the news of Naipeo, but he still came to ask himself. The news he got was unsurprisingly that Naipeo hadn't come out. Could he be trapped in a safe place? The spirit beasts have been rampaging for the past 2 days. Naipeo might not dare to leave. The Xuanjin elder sighed and analyzed. That's possible. The Xianxin elder's face softened after hearing this. He thought for a while and turned to Tian-chan. How about this, Tian-chan? Go to the 5 element barons again and look for Naipeo. If he's really inside, bring him out. Me? Go to the 5 element barons again? Tian-chan pointed at herself and looked at the Xianxin elder, stunned. At this moment, Tian-chan's heart was beating furiously. She almost agreed happily, but logic told her that she couldn't do that. That's right. The Xianxin elder nodded. Go find Naipeo. Currently, only you are immune to the 5 element barons. Isn't that a little dangerous? The Xuanjin elder didn't agree. Although Tian-chan is immune to the 5 element barons, the spirit beasts are rampaging right now. If she goes, she'll probably be in danger, right? Of course there will be danger, but what if something happens to Naipeo? The Xianxin elder waved his hand and said, Second brother, this isn't the time to be soft-hearted. I know that Tian-chan is your disciple, but she's also my disciple niece. Although you've been hiding this from me, I've always treated her as my disciple. Chapter 2852. Plus, Tian-chan has a sachet of the beast race on her. She can disguise herself as a spirit beast, so it shouldn't be a problem. The Xianxin ancestor said, Alright, it's settled then. Tian-chan, go investigate, and see if any of the participants who came with Zhang Naipeo passed the test. And if any of them saw Zhang Naipeo moving around, once you've found out, we'll enter the Five Evils wildlands tomorrow morning. Yes, Master Uncle. Tian Chan cupped her fists expressionlessly, but she was a little excited inside. Tian Chan, be careful. The Xuanzhen ancestor could only say this now. Don't worry, Master, I'll be careful. I'll definitely find Zhang Naipeo. Tian Chan nodded. All right, then it's settled. The Xianzhen ancestor had just finished speaking when someone knocked on the door of the palace. Not long after, Little Peach walked over carefully, but when she saw the Xianzhen ancestor and the Xuanzhen ancestor, she wanted to say something, but stopped herself. Who's here? The Xianzhen ancestor turned to Little Peach and asked. It's the 8th elder. He's here to see the young master. Little Peach didn't even dare to breathe loudly. She lowered her head and said carefully. These were all boss-level existences. However, she had her own plans. If she could let Kong Ming show his face in front of the Xianzhen ancestor and the Xuanzhen ancestor, that would be of great benefit to him. If the Xianzhen ancestor thought highly of him, then he'd have a meteoric rise. It's Kong Ming, right? The Xuanzhen ancestor naturally knew this 8th elder and asked faintly. Yes, Master, Tian Chan said quickly. Let him in. Ancestor Xianzhen was a man of his word. Kong Ming had made a great contribution to the Heavenly Elixir sect. Although the inheritance of Tian Chan had failed, they still needed to find other cultivators to inherit the power of origin. Therefore, they still needed Kong Ming to concoct elixirs. He had promised Kong Ming that he would give him benefits and introduce him to Ancestor Xianzhen as a disciple. Now is the time. Yes, Patriarch Xianzhen. Little Peach replied excitedly and went out to look for Kong Ming. Big brother Kong, Patriarch Xianzhen is also here. Your chance has come. As long as you can obtain Patriarch Xuanzhen's favor, the young sect master will also think highly of you. I understand, Little Peach. Rest assured, just watch my performance. Kong Ming was also a little excited. Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianzhen were both high and mighty existences. If he could obtain their favor, it would be like ascending to the heavens in a single step. Disciple Xiaoming greets Patriarch Xianzhen, Patriarch Xianzhen, and young sect master. Kong Ming's attitude was very low, and he positioned himself as an ordinary disciple of the Heavenly Elixir sect. Second senior brother, this is the Kong Ming that you told me about before, right? Patriarch Xianzhen looked at Kong Ming and asked. Previously, Patriarch Xianzhen said that he would reward Kong Ming by making him his disciple in name. Patriarch Xianzhen had also verbally agreed to this. Yes, Xianzhen, it's him. Take him as a disciple in name? Patriarch Xianzhen nodded and asked. All right, since second senior brother has spoken, how could I, as a junior brother, dare not to listen? Patriarch Xianzhen laughed and said, Kong Ming, then I will accept you as my disciple in name. On the surface, he seemed to be very respectful to Patriarch Xianzhen. But in fact, it was just an act. When it came to real matters, he had never listened to Patriarch Xianzhen's words. He only treated Patriarch Xianzhen as his second senior brother on these insignificant matters. Disciple Kong Ming greets master. When Kong Ming heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Patriarch Xianzhen, confirming the status of master and disciple. And not bad. Get up first. When the trial is over, come find me. I will teach you some techniques that alchemists can use. Since you are my disciple, you can't tarnish my reputation. Patriarch Xianzhen said to Kong Ming. Thank you, master. Don't worry. I will do my best to cultivate, Kong Ming said. All right, tell me first, why are you here? Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand and signaled for Kong Ming to get to the point. It's like this, Master. Patriarch Xianzhen, young master, today is the end of the trial. Since the last 4 people who came out last time, no one else has come out of the portal, Kong Ming reported. He was extremely excited. Lenny actually didn't come out. This made him want to laugh 3 times to celebrate, but in front of so many important people, he didn't dare to do so. So Zhang Naipeo didn't come out? Although Patriarch Xianzhen had expected this result, His face was still very ugly. It seemed that his hope was completely gone. Master, don't worry. I will go to the Five Evils Barrens tomorrow and find out where Zhang Naipeo went. Tian Shan said quickly. Of course, finding Zhang Naipeo was just an excuse. Finding Lin Yi was her real goal. She should thank Xianxin for giving her a reason to return to the Five Evils Barrens. And, since the trial is over, go find out where Zhang Naipeo is and get ready to go. Patriarch Xianxin waved his hand impatiently, as if he wanted Tian Shan to go to the Five Evils Barrens now. Yes, I will go investigate now. Tian Shan also wanted to investigate the people that Lin Yi knew, and see why Lin Yi didn't come out. On the other hand, Kong Mingming was shocked. He didn't think that the person the patriarch was worried about was Zhang Naipeo. No wonder the silkworm transformation always asked him to report the news. It was because of Zhang Naipeo. Of course, Kong Mingming misunderstood Tian Chan's thoughts. Tian Chan didn't stay and left the palace directly. As for Kong Mingming, naturally he couldn't stay. The patriarch was obviously worried about Zhang Naipeo and didn't have time to care about this disciple. So Kong Mingming cupped his fists and said, Master, I will leave too. And you go first. I will look for you when I'm done here. Patriarch Xianxin waved his hand, indicating that Kong Mingming could leave. Kong Xiaoming left the side courtyard of the palace. Little Peach sent him out and was happy for him. Big brother Kong, you are so lucky to be able to become a disciple of Elder Xianxin. In the future, you will have a backer in Sky Elixir sect. If the young master looks at you in a different light, then you will be a duke. Chapter 2853. Now that Lin Yi was dead, Kong Mingming's next goal was to gain a foothold in the Sky Elixir sect and develop House Kong. I believe that Big Bro Kong will definitely become the strongest elder in the Sky Elixir sect. Little Peach said expectantly. Haha, that's for sure. Kong Mingming laughed. After Tian Shan came out of the courtyard, she immediately went to the Heavenly Elixir sect inn and directly found the manager on duty at the Heavenly Elixir sect inn. Manager son, give me the guest room registration list. Yes, young master. Shopkeeper son was shocked. He didn't expect that Heavenly Silkworm transformation would personally come to the Heavenly Dan sect inn. Although he didn't know what Heavenly Silkworm transformation wanted the name list for, he quickly took it out and said, Young sect master, it's here, please have a look. And let me ask you something. There's a person called Zhang Naipeo. Did he come back to the inn? Tian Shan took the list and asked faintly, Zhang Naipeo? Wait a moment, let me check. Manager's son quickly turned on the computer and checked, but quickly shook his head. No, Zhang Naipeo didn't come back to the inn. Then what about Lin Yi? Tian Shan asked again. The Zhang Naipeo from before was just a prelude. Although Tian Shan was sure that manager's son wouldn't just say whatever she asked, but Tian Shan still felt a little guilty. Also no. Manager's son shook his head after checking. If that's the case, then it's fine. Tian Shan waved her hand, indicating that manager's son could go back to his own business. Although Tian Shan already knew that Lin Yi wouldn't come back to the inn without using the teleportation circle. But if she didn't ask, she wouldn't feel at ease. But how would manager's son dare to do anything else in front of Silkworm transformation? He could only carefully stand to the side, waiting for Silkworm transformation's next order. Tian Shan took the guest room list in her hand and looked through it carefully. She first looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi came with Zhao Qikuan from the hidden house Zhao, and this was noted on the guest list. Zhang Naipeo, on the other hand, came with Mo Ba and Mo Jiu from the Everyday and Day sect. Zhao Qikuan. Tian Shan remembered that he was one of the last 4 participants to pass the Sky Elixir sect. Her memory was very good, so she remembered him right away. But Mo Ba and Jiu didn't have any impressions. Tian Shan didn't see their names on the guest list. Manager's son, Mo Ba and Mo. Everyday and Sun Sex Mo Jiu have seen E. Master young master, Mo Day and Xiao Jiu. Everyday and sect Mo. Everyday and Xiao Mo they E and Mo Nai Heavy Xiao sect Lin is Tian Lin Chen. Tian I Tian Lin Lin Tian 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 Shin. In Lin. Mo Tian Tian Xiao, what happened to him? Elder son knew about Emojio's situation very well. After all, it happened in the inn, so manager's son had a deep impression of it. Earlier, in the restaurant, Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Sun sect brought Emoba and Emojio to provoke them. And then, that Linny you mentioned, he crippled Emojio with one palm. He's still relying on pills to keep him alive. And he hasn't woken up yet. What? Linny did it? Tianchan froze. She didn't think that Linny and Zhang Naipeo had such a big grudge. Although she knew a little about Linny, she didn't know that he had a grudge with the Everyday and Sun sect. Yes, Linny is only an Earth-class late phase, but he was able to heavily injure a Sky-class mid-phase with one palm. That's quite strange, Manager Sun said. But for some reason, Zhang Naipeo and Emoba chose to temporarily hold back, and didn't clash with Linny any further. However, Zhang Naipeo said that he wanted to see who was stronger in the test. Oh, Tianchan frowned. Could it be that Linny met Zhang Naipeo again in the Five Fiends Barrens, and the two of them got into a fight that ended in mutual destruction? Thinking about how Linny had the safe place map, and Zhang Naipeo also had the safe place map, it was inevitable that the two would meet. Thinking about this, Tianchan's heart tensed up. She was a little worried about Linny. If she knew that the two had a grudge, she would have warned Linny. Now it seemed that her guess was right. The two must have fought. Manager Sun, which room is this Zhao Qikuan staying in? He should know about it, I'll go ask him. Tianchan didn't need to explain so much. Even if she didn't say anything and asked for Zhao Qikuan, Manager Sun wouldn't have asked a word. It was just that Tianchan was acting like a little girl when it came to dealing with Linny. It was a little like she was trying to hide something. But no matter how brave Manager Sun was, he didn't dare to think too much. Besides, in his eyes, Tianchan was a man. Whether it was Zhao Qikuan, Zhang Naipeo, or Linny, it wasn't a big deal. Let me see, it's upstairs 307. Manager Sun said. Okay, you can continue with your work. Tianchan nodded her head and turned around to go upstairs. Only then did shopkeeper Sun let out a sigh of relief. Tianchan came to Zhao Qikuan's room and knocked. Who is it? Wait a minute. Zhao Qikuan's voice came from the room. As the practitioner who passed the test, he was waiting in his room for the reward. The practitioners who didn't get the herbs, but came out of the portal, had already returned to their sections. But Zhao Qikuan had another reason for staying here. And that was to wait for Linny. It was already the 21st day, and Linny wasn't back yet. But Zhao Qikuan didn't want to give up. He believed that Linny would come back alive. So when he heard the knocking, Zhao Qikuan was a little excited. He thought that it was Linny coming back. After all, he had just had breakfast with Feng Shipian, Gu Xian, and Li Siba. The four of them weren't in the mood to do anything else. After breakfast, they all went back to their rooms to wait for Lin Yi's news. That was why Zhao Qikuan misunderstood. Zhao Qikuan got up and opened the door. He froze, because outside the door, there was a stranger he had never seen before. In this inn, there were a few practitioners who had passed the test, but even if Qikuan wasn't familiar with them, he would at least recognize them. The person in front of him, however, was clearly not one of the practitioners in the inn. You are? Zhao Qikuan looked at Tianchan curiously. Chapter 2854. Since Qikuan came with Lin Yi, he was evidently Lin Yi's friend, and so Tianchan didn't put on any airs. Qikuan's strength was low, but she still spoke politely. Ah, young Master Tian, hello. Qikuan jumped. He hadn't seen Skyworm transformation before, but he knew how strong the young master was. This was one of the strongest ancient sects, just like the hidden house you. And so, Qikuan asked respectfully, "Excuse me, you're looking for me?" Of course, Qikuan didn't think that this person was a fake at all. Pretending to be the young master of Sky Elixir and Sky Elixir's turf was suicide. "I'm here to ask you something, but aren't you going to invite me in?" Tianchan asked politely. "Ah, I'm sorry, please come in, young Master Tian." Qikuan quickly made a gesture of invitation, and let Skyworm transformation in. Chikuin, I'm here to ask you something. I hope you can answer me truthfully. Skyworm transformation didn't put on airs in front of Chikuin, but it wasn't as weak as Tian-chan had been. Ask away, young Master Tian. If I want to know, I won't hide anything. Chikuin said that, but this was only what he could say. He wouldn't say anything that he couldn't say. All right. Tian-chan didn't care if Chikuin was telling the truth or not. She only asked, "What's your relationship with Lin Yi?" "Lin Yi," Chikuin said, shocked. "What happened to him? Answer my question first." Tian-chan was expressionless, but she breathed out in relief. If Chikuin said this, then it meant that Lin Yi was fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking this. "I'm Lin Yi's follower," Chikuin said truthfully. There was no need to hide it. Tian-chan nodded and continued. "Did you meet your boss in the trial?" Chikuin was a little surprised to hear Tian-chan call Lin Yi your boss. He didn't expect Master Tian to be so approachable. In fact, this kind of subtle change wasn't something Tian-chan was aware of. Perhaps in the depths of her heart, she felt that one day, she would become Zhao Chikuin's sister-in-law. And so the way she spoke changed quite a bit. "Yes, our boss has a trial map of the Heavenly Elixir School. There are signs of safe places on it. This is a map given to him by the Heavenly Elixir School. Young Master Tian should know about it, right?" Chikuin had heard from Lin Yi that this map was given to him by the Sky Elixir sect. So he didn't hide it. "I have a copy of this too." "Oh, so you guys went to a safe place to meet?" Tian-chan did not delve into the matter of the map, and continued to ask. "Yes, we met at a safe place." Chikuin nodded. Tian-chan was confused after hearing Chikuin's response. Lin Yi going to a safe place should have happened after they got back from Wushuang Mountains. If he'd gotten there safely, then why didn't he come out with Chikuin? "Safe place, then did you guys meet Zhang Naipeo?" Tian-chan suddenly remembered Zhang Naipeo, and so she asked. "Zhang Naipeo? I met him." What happened in the trial wasn't a secret. Even if Chikuin didn't say anything, the two disciples from the Dark Palace would have told anyways. Chikuin said honestly. Plus, boss and Zhang Naipeo got into a conflict again. The two of them got into a conflict? And then? Tian-chan asked impatiently. This is what happened. Chikuin didn't explain much, but described what happened from a bystander's point of view. He believed that the Dark Palace disciples had seen it as well. Tian-chan listened to Chikuin's narration. Hearing that Lin Yi beat Zhang Naipeo, she let out a sigh of relief. But she was even more puzzled. Naipeo could use the Dark Demon Fist. So how did Lin Yi know it too? Plus, how was Lin Yi so strong? After killing Demon 8, he beat Naipeo? Of course, what confused Tian-chan the most was that if Naipeo couldn't be Lin Yi's enemy anymore, then where did Lin Yi go? Why didn't he come back with Chikuin? As for where Naipeo went after going crazy, whether he was dead or not, Tian-chan didn't really care. What happened after that? Why didn't Lin Yi come back with you? Tian-chan continued. After that, it was because one of Boss's friends went to Five Fiends Mountains, and Boss wanted to find her. So he went there. But after he left, there was no news of him. I waited in a safe place for the 18th day, but he didn't come back, so I left. Chikuin sighed and said worriedly, Young Master Tian, does your Sky Elixir sect make a list of all the participants who didn't come out of the portal? Yeah, but I'm mainly responsible for people related to Zhang Naipeo, Tian-chan said. In fact, even if the Sky Elixir sect wanted to make a list, it wouldn't be up to the young master to ask about it. It was just that Chikuin didn't know about it. Hearing that Lin Yi had returned to Five Fiends Mountains, Tian-chan's heart jumped. Lin Yi had gone back. Would he meet the Five Fiends Dragon again? Even if Lin Yi could kill Sky-class mid-phase masters in one hit, he wouldn't be a match for the Five Fiends Dragon. Tian-chan herself wasn't a match for the Five Fiends Dragon, let alone Lin Yi. With that thought, Tian-chan couldn't help but panic. She wanted to go to Five Fiends Mountains as soon as possible. Alright, your information is very important. However, I hope you can keep my questions to yourself. This is also the trial rule of our Heavenly Elixir sect. Tian-chan got the answer she wanted to know, so she stood up and prepared to leave. That's not a problem. Chikuin nodded. Young Master Tian, May I ask if the Sky Elixir sect will organize a rescue team to search for the participants who didn't come out? That depends, I can't promise you that, Tian-chan said vaguely. Alright, I have to go. I have other questions. Chapter 2855. After Tian-chan walked out of Zhao Qikuan's room, there was no need to continue investigating. One of the two people related to Zhang Naipeo was dead, and the other was unconscious, and the two followers from the Dark Palace didn't know anything at all. So Tian-chan decided to go straight to the five-element wildlands. After returning to the palace, Tian-chan told the Xianxin and Xuanjin ancestors about the results of her investigation, but she only talked about Mo Jiu being unconscious, not what Zhao Qikuan had said. After all, Tian-chan didn't want five-element sect to hate Lin Yi, so she didn't say anything. If they found out later, there was nothing Tian-chan could do. But the Xianxin ancestor didn't have the time to think about this. He couldn't go to the Sky Elixir sect to ask the practitioners, who passed the test like he did with silkworm transformation. He was very happy when he heard that Tian-chan was going to the five-element sect again. In his eyes, Tian-chan's life wasn't important anymore. She wasn't as valuable as Zhang Naipeo. The Xuanjin ancestor, on the other hand, told Tian-chan to be careful and stay alive if the situation wasn't right. Although Tian-chan entered the portal as silkworm transformation, after arriving at the five-element wildlands, the first thing Tian-chan did was change back to Tian-chan's attire and sprinted towards the five-element mountain range. The path from the portal to the five-element mountain range wasn't dangerous. This was the path Tian-chan had taken before, and this was the reason why she gave the sachet to Lin Yi. Half a day later, Tian-chan arrived at the five-element mountain range. The five-element mountain range was still the same five-element mountain range, but Tian-chan's mood was completely different. The first time she came here, she was filled with anxiety and anticipation for the inheritance. When she left, she was filled with regret, reluctance, and determination. The second time she came here, Tian-chan was a little excited, but also a little worried. At this moment, Tian-chan had the same thought as Lin Yi when he returned to the Penta Mountain Range. After coming to the Penta Mountain Range, the only place they could go was the cave of the Penta Dragon. Hence, Tian-chan flew directly in the direction of the cave of the Penta Dragon. However, Tian-chan was pleasantly surprised to see a familiar little figure not too far away from the Five Evils Dragon's cave. It was Lin Yi's spiritual beast, the Skybolt Pig. When the Skybolt Pig saw Tian-chan, he cried out happily, "Gg. Little guy, why are you here? Where is Lin Yi?" Tian-chan impatiently ran over and picked up the Skybolt Pig. Roar! When the Penta Dragon heard the noise outside the cave, it walked out of the cave. When it saw Tian-chan, it was startled and said, "Little girl, why are you here?" Hearing the Penta Dragon speak, Tian-chan was startled. But she knew that many spiritual beasts could speak after reaching the heaven rank. It was not strange for the Penta Dragon to speak. It was just that the Penta Dragon didn't speak before, but it spoke at this time. This surprised Tian-chan. "Eh? You can speak. You said that he came. Lin Yi, he also came." Tian-chan was very smart. She noticed the word also in the Penta Dragon's words. It seemed that Lin Yi had come before. I don't know whether he is called Lin Yi or not, but he did come. The Penta Dragon was angry with Tian-chan and wanted to tease her. "Ah, where is he now?" Tian-chan was happy and asked quickly, "Him. Do you want to know?" The Penta Dragon narrowed its eyes and looked at Tian-chan. "Yes, can you tell me?" Tian-chan nodded and asked, "Of course, I can bring you there," the Penta Dragon said. "Thank you." Tian-chan was anxious to save Lin Yi, so she didn't see the Penta Dragon's evil intentions. But the Skybolt Pig felt it. Wasn't it the same as what the Penta Dragon said to Lin Yi? Squeak squeak. The Skybolt Pig cried out in panic. He wanted to stop Tian-chan, but it was obvious that it was useless. The Penta Dragon rushed over and grabbed Tian-chan. The Skybolt Pig, who was in Tian-chan's arms, was also grabbed. "Ah!" Tian-chan cried out, but it was too late. The Five Evils Dragon swung its claws, and with a swoosh, threw Tian-chan and Sky Thunder Pig off the cliff. As you wish. Annoying human cultivators, go to hell. The dragon of 5 evils returned to its cave leisurely after doing all that. It hated Tian-chan and Lin-Yi to the core. It could have obtained the power of the 5 evils to increase its cultivation, but it was ruined by these human practitioners. In the beginning, a large number of Earth rank and above human cultivators appeared in the savage land of 5 evils. The Pentadragon was very angry, so it ordered the nearby spirit beasts to kill these human cultivators. However, the 5 evils dragon wasn't stupid. It knew that there must be a reason behind everything. Over the years, human cultivators had entered the savage land of 5 evils, but they only sent some yellow class and mystic class cultivators here. They didn't dare to violate this rule, so there weren't too many conflicts between human cultivators and the spiritual beasts in the savage land of 5 evils. This time, there were so many high-level cultivators, including several heaven stage cultivators. This made the dragon of 5 evils feel both angry and puzzled. It didn't believe that the heavenly elixir sect would be so stupid to do such a suicidal thing. Suddenly, it thought that the time for the 5 evils' origin power to be released was approaching. Could it be related to this? Whether it was related or not, the Pentadragon quickly returned to its cave. Sure enough, there was a human cultivator who was stimulating the Pentadragon's origin with external force. It seemed that its guess was right. It had fallen into the human cultivator's trap. This was also the reason why the Pentadragon came back so early. However, it was too late and didn't absorb the Penta origin. Tian-chan was shocked, but she immediately realized that Lin-Yi was also thrown off the cliff by the Pentadragon, and she was played by the Pentadragon. However, Tian-chan felt helpless. Fortunately, the Pentadragon didn't hurt her this time. It just threw her off the cliff. So Tian-chan hurried to use the Heart Sutra and genuine chi to protect her body. She quickly said to Skybolt Pig, "Piglet, how are you? Are you okay to fall down?" "Rawr." Skybolt Pig shook his head, indicating that there was no problem. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.